All right, what is up, everybody? This is Manny Bothans, and you're listening to the Manny Bothans' primary podcast. Sorry we were out last week. There's embarrassing situations behind all of that we may or may not talk about, but we've got so much shit to talk about today, and we've got a whole bunch of people on. So we're gonna go right into intros because this is gonna be a long list, guys. Let's get started at the top with Pieter.
Yeah, it's Piotr. Hi, I'm one of the sort of three execs of Manifesto Alliance, and probably the most impoverished of the three. Yeah.
Awesome. Forkrul.
Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Forkrul Asile. I am a Sky Marshal for Razor Alliance and also doing the military coordination between the alliances in the Northern Drone regions.
Awesome. Jay?
I'm Jay Mercati. I'm the DRF Diplo, and I don't know what I do in EVE anymore. I don't really get to log in.
He gets all the people onto my show, which makes him fucking amazing. Johan.
Johan Landier, Editor-in-Chief for EVE News 24 and CEO of Diplomatic Incident and Darkness Guardians of the Galaxy.
Awesome. Do you want to be called Quend or do you want to be called Spectre? Not entirely sure.
Either one works. I'm Quendashir or Spectre06. I fly with Manifesto. I'm kind of the pseudo Minister of Propaganda and resident disciplinarian, I guess, which is just my way of saying I'm an a-hole for the Alliance.
Hey, we all love our a-holes. They spew all the shit that we don't want to say. I think I'm gonna call you Spectre only because it's easier. Quendashir sounds like a name that I haven't used yet for a Draco form in Shadowrun or something. Yeah, I could see a Quendashir living in Tier 10 gear. In any case, let's move on down the list. Sapporo.
What's up? I'm Sapporo Jones. I'm inexplicably still the executive of Test Alliance, a top 16 AT team.
Weren't you flying in this year's AT?
I was an alternate on this team.
Oh, awesome. Travis.
Travis Muskrat, NC.FC and CEO of Berneden.
Awesome. Titleist?
Yep, Titleist Warden. I am the Alliance Executive Officer for Digital Vendetta, and I'm the CEO of Sturm Grenadier Inc.
Awesome. Urs.
Version 99 with Multiplex Gaming, part of the Bastion. And yes, ask me about taking tons of gates through Iridia in a capital, because I've done it.
Oh, man. And I thought you were going to stick around in HiSec and make all the freighters scared.
Oh, I have an alt that can do that too.
Ah. Well, that's just even better. The multi-talented Raziel 99, everybody. And Vigi.
Vigilante, CEO of Southern Comfort, currently a member of Test Alliance, and I've been on the losing side of more wars than probably anybody in this channel.
Jesus.
I lived in Delve when Goons decided they wanted to live there.
Me too.
Yeah, I know. We rented you a Citadel. Back when us and Lumpy were fighting alongside Test and friends.
Oh, that one. I thought you meant 2013 Delve. So the last time Test was there.
Now, Vigi actually used to help run a certain coalition.
Yeah, GOTG. It's been over a year now. No, 2 years since I was... Man, has GOTG been around that long? Wow.
Almost 3 years.
Damn.
I think we were part of GOTG. I'm not 100% because I don't know any of the diplomatic shit that goes on in my alliance. I'm just a line member.
No, it was good times though. Stark gave me a real opportunity to help form that coalition. I mean, he's done pretty amazing things with it since, but it was some of the craziest times in EVE for me when he brought me in to help him run Darkness. And it's I miss it, but at the same time, it was a lot of work.
Shit ton of work.
Oh man, I don't know if we were like with or against GOTG. I remember fighting Darkness a lot. I don't think we got to the we're friends part yet. We got to the we're not going to destroy each other part.
Were you allied with Pizza and Co. when they got Delve after the Sov changes? Or after the dudes
No.
came through? Okay, nah, because I was just thinking.
No. After Delph, we moved over to Tenal. Oh, we moved to Catch, then we moved to Tenal.
I think we're confusing our Delves. So many times.
Oh man.
Yeah, which big Delve war are we up to now? This is what, this was Delve 7, right? When they just took Delve this last time, right?
7 or 8, something like that.
Technically 8.
Should just start referring to Delve Wars by the year they take place in.
Right.
No, I like this numerical chronicling system. That way, if there's not a war, we can call it the Year of Peace.
There's been a lot of upsets in AT.
Oh man, I did not get to see a whole bunch of matches, I'll admit, but I did get to see the Brave Newbie Goons match during the first weekend. Oh my god, I had not laughed that hard in ages.
Wasn't this basically their first year taking the AT seriously, like with a team?
Yes.
Does anybody know how they practiced or anything? I didn't see them during the open practices or anything, so I'm not really sure how they got set up for this AT this year.
They do open practices, but they also they I know they had a couple of different practice partners. I'm not sure, but they did.
Did they like practice with internal partners? Is that is that how that went down? Okay.
Internal and external.
Well, didn't they practice with NC?
Yes, we practiced with them. I think a couple of times.
I heard you guys. I heard they won once out of like a few.
Yeah, how'd they do in the practices?
So they honestly did a lot, but I mean it's Brave, so you kind of expect them to be trash. But like the one thing, like Brave has very very good like tackle pilots. I think we practiced with them like a couple of days ago, and I was actually, because I'm the only person in it on the NC.AT that pretty much exclusively flies tackle. And they have some very good tackle pilots. They're a little bit short on the theory crafting, but I mean, like if you can get past the first weekend, then I mean that's pretty much all. A lot of that's done for you, and you can just kind of like steal other people's setups that are really good.
Yeah, the meta seems to change year over year enough that it seems like it's kind of difficult to just like steal comps that worked in the past, right? Like.
Yeah.
Brave seems like, I don't know, Brave is kind of strange. Like year over year, it seems like they have a pretty okay team. Like in spite of, like, I'm not trying to sound like a dick or anything, but it's just like it seems like the new player oriented like focus of Brave would sort of work against them in the AT, but they seem to do a pretty good job of making it work in the AT.
Yeah,
so I was pretty impressed this year. Their team captain seems like he's got it really well together. I don't know.
Well, they're an old enough
John
alliance
Lee Wang
now.
or something.
They're an old enough alliance now that they've got people that have been there for many years and have been playing the game for a long time. So it's like you fall into the trap of thinking Brave is like a new player alliance, but they've been around for long enough that there's some solid veterans there now.
I mean that's like certainly true, but on the other hand, like most of these alliances that do the AT year after year have like a solid core of players and like dudes that do the theory crafting and dudes that are regularly there year after year to do the thing and organize the practices.
Yeah, but
it seems like Brave like swaps that shit out year after year and it's always new people.
It's 10 people playing together, right? Like that's not a lot of people that you have to have that like play together a lot. Like
Right.
like Brave, sure there's like a bunch of noobs, but they've definitely got probably at least 10 good players, and that's all it really takes.
Oh, dude, for sure, they did really well this year.
Well, there's been a lot of upsets this year, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, like look at the losers bracket right now. It's got PL, I think, Vidra, Hydra, and who else does it have? There's one other supposedly like should be like have like a very good chance of like top 14. That's in
Was
the
it the
loser
Ronin?
bracket. No, Ronin's not that good. I mean, Ronin's good, but they're not like PL Hydra.
Well, I was yesterday, most of the matches I've watched in the past, it's like within the first 30 seconds or 15 seconds, you kind of know who's going to win. But like there was that match yesterday between Slice and No Handlebars where that guy kept jumping around and dragging those drones off the No Handle or off the Slice team, and that one went down to the last second. So there's definitely been some more interesting matches this year than I've seen in the
That's
past.
true. We've definitely had some interesting boundary violations this year too.
Well, there's been some absolute slaughter of some expensive ass flagships.
I don't remember
You
teams.
haven't even seen like any like very, very expensive. Like there's only been one person that has like a Toby, like a pure Toby flagship. Like we haven't seen any like pure mid 14s, which I hope somebody feels.
I mean, to be fair, most of the like officer mods you throw in that stuff, like you can just do Dead Space or whatever, and it's like just as good. You don't need to like full blink it out, you know?
But on the Balgorns, like you kind of do, and like Toby's webs are like 60 bill a pop right now. So...
Okay, that's very true. Yeah.
And like Balgorn's like the probably the best flagship there is this year. So I mean, Geddon's probably like the best. If you don't have enough ISK to spend like 40 bill on webs to just get like the mid tier, then you probably do want to do the Geddon. But it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money indeed. It's a Volta that got knocked out today. That was interesting.
Who did they get knocked out by?
They got knocked out, or they didn't get knocked out. They got knocked to the losers bracket by ABA, which was very interesting to see.
PL
Volta
lost
does
too.
probably have the best 10 pilots on any team in the tournament, and they got outdroned.
Yeah, the drone meta strong this year.
Yeah. But you wanted to really, everybody thought, well, I mean, it's really battlecruiser heavy too, which I thought it's more, surprised we haven't seen more drones, to be honest.
Well,
We've still seen rapid lights, which is fucking retarded.
We've seen Vexers come on real strong. Of every flavor.
We're just
Yeah,
seeing
drones
make it.
drones are also getting really super hard to ban out. There's just so many different options. Oh no, you banned out the VNI. I'm just gonna use the regular Vexer, or I'm gonna get an Ishtar in there.
That's only halfway true, because like there's really like what 3 ships in the game that have like lots of drones. So you have the Dominics, well I guess really 2. Like the Dominics and the Ishtar are the only ones that could fit like 3 or 4 waves of drones, right? So if you ban, yeah, well Geddon, but Geddon doesn't have like the bonus, right?
The EOS.
Yeah, but EOS is like a lot of points. You can't do like a battlecruiser drone core.
I mean,
I think
right, so,
Navy Vexer is good for.
yeah,
you know.
Navy Vexer's good, but it's not. It doesn't have T2 resist. There's really only like the Ishtar and the Dami are like, if you ban those out, like you're like in a BC core, like flying against a team that has drone core, you can defang them pretty quickly with battle cruisers, because like Vexers have like what 1 flight of drones instead of most other cruisers.
Geddon has 375.
Yeah, but it's not.
It has a damage bonus too. It just doesn't have a tracking bonus like the Dami.
Right.
Yeah, but still, if you defang two drone boats, like you're in pretty good shape probably.
I think the interesting thing is seeing a lot of frigate logi.
Yeah, that was really. We flew against, I forgot who it was. I think Shadow Cartel. They had 2 deacons, and we did full drones with no logi, and that was nerve-wracking as shit. If you don't kill one of their deacons in the first 30 seconds, you just know like you've lost.
It's like in a comp like that, do you actually watch the drones and rep the drones?
Well, no, like we didn't have drones, right? We didn't have reps. That's why it was like extreme, like it was an extremely nerve-wracking just like going into the fight, knowing like okay, we have 9 drone boats, and then like I was in the only tackle ship, and if we do not kill one of their deacons in maybe 45 seconds. Then game's over.
Yeah, you just gotta burn them down quick as shit.
I thought it was interesting now with the drone meta being so strong this year. Some of the teams that are fielding, like, I don't know, maybe I just haven't noticed, but the bombers, and actually seeing a bomb run to wipe out drones in an alliance tournament, I thought that was pretty interesting. It made the difference in a couple of fights yesterday.
Yeah, bombers are huge. Bombers are definitely huge, especially in the rep bot game, because last year the meta was more focused on having a smart bombing battleship core like SNIs or Bargists or something like that, and getting on top of the primary and smart bombing the drones. But this year it's more having stealth bombers bomb the drones.
Though the smart bombs have been used in a couple cases on Battlegrounds, I think it was.
Yeah, Balgorns, but not as terribly effectively. And like last year, like you were like, so most of the time when people are relying on rep bots, they're usually mediums from like cruisers or battle cruisers. So like a single Balgorn's not going to be able to like effectively kill T2 heavy drones very well on its own, unless they've got like, you know, PL did like the double Dommies today, which would have cleared them very well, but the sentries dropped against them.
Yeah, that didn't quite work out for PL very well today.
No.
Who's PL fight next? They're fighting. They're going after Slice next, right? Isn't that the next one?
I want to say, I don't know. I know. So okay, so for them to get to like the top 4, and the losers bracket, PL is probably gonna have to go against Hydra, and then Volta is probably gonna have to go against Vidra or Tuskers, which are really, that's 5 teams in the losers bracket right there. Or sorry, Tuskers are us, I guess. That's gonna be 5 teams in the losers bracket that probably 90% of the people would have said like 4 out of 5 of those would have been top 4 this year.
It's gonna be a hard slog through the loser bracket, that's for damn sure.
Yeah.
Like I mean that's like
Pandemic Legion's going against Solarius Chitonium.
Yeah, Slice.
Yeah.
Slice and then Hydra or Assault, depending on who wins.
Yeah,
Yep.
so Hydra.
And Travis, who are you guys going up next, right?
Oh, we're going against Tuskers, I believe.
Beat their ass, please.
Yeah, no, I hope we do well.
Warp drive active.
NSC consistently has a really solid AT team. Like, I'm sure you guys will do fine.
Yeah, but so does Tuskers are defending champs, right?
Eh.
they're not lightweights, dude.
I don't know. It's a little less interesting without all the gambling this year. Although I think a lot of people would have lost a lot of this year.
Yeah.
Bet.
Well, see,
Whoa.
Travis, I don't remember if you remember the TMA team. The interesting shit they did.
What did they do?
Oh, they were the first ones to use the micro jump drives. They were the first ones to use a what is the stupid battleship with Bastion? My brain's fried. They used a Paladin. Yeah, Marauder. They used a Paladin, and then they were the first team to do all whole tank, pretty much, and use the indie ships as e-warfare.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been interesting this year to see a lot more MJD usage. Last year, I think everybody was a little more scared of the idea of like using an MJD beacon, because if you fuck up, you know, you boundary.
They
on all
use
but 1 beacons, but
yeah, they use straight up just MJD. Like they didn't use the beacons. At the beginning of the match, they warped in 100 out, then MJD them and like just destroyed them.
yeah, that's a pretty good tactic, especially because it kind of lets you counter all, like a lot of people just go at 50 for everything, no matter what they're in, just so they can kind of see what's going on. Zero is very aggressive unless you're like double Vindy Balgorn.
I think there was a couple whole tank comps this year, wasn't there?
Yeah, so I remember seeing whoever MC played today. They had whole tank Divindys. We went against Shadow Cartel, I believe, and they had they had 2 bait hull tanked Brutix Navy issues, but Galente is just really good at hull tanking, so it's not a surprise. I mean, it's kind of unoriginal, but it works a little bit.
I've got to put this out here real quick before he heads out. Thank you so much for the host, Critical Quail. Holy shit. I just had like 94 people jump into the Twitch stream all at once. It was amazing.
The interesting thing though with the hull tanking is a lot of times when it starts going into hull, they start going to the next target and splitting DPS, and then it's like, you know, they've got 200,000 EHP in hull.
Yeah. I think most of like the better teams probably recognize the difference between if you chew through armor fast enough, like you know it's like, okay, it's hull tanked pretty quickly. But yeah, like if you don't realize that pretty quickly, then especially like with all of the drone comps that are like, if you switch drones, like that's like probably like 10 or 15 seconds wasted sometimes. At least, like, you know, I know I saw that in the MC match today where they switched drones early, and that was, I mean, that's 15 seconds in the tournament matches. That's a lot of time.
But especially with how much DPS is just poof gone, you know.
Yeah, but next weekend will be really interesting. I'm excited to see all the comps with the triple bans. So that'll be 6 bans total. I think that'll be very, very interesting. Because theoretically, you could ban all 4 logistics and then both tourney logistics, and then that's a little hairy.
But you can also ban doctrines completely. You can go for 3 battle cruisers, and then, well, most of the battle cruiser doctrines wouldn't be viable anymore.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you're gonna see a lot of really weird or like kind of like off looking comps, because people like are literally just like they're doing like patchwork comps next weekend.
So you think there's going to be teams that aren't ready for having basically 3 ships, potentially a lot of ships out of their comps ban? They're just not going to be. They're just going to throw something together last minute.
Yeah, I think you're going to have a lot of people that, like, I mean, you could effectively almost completely kill the drone comp.
Yeah, I mean, you can about halfway ban the drone comp. You can like severely handicap it. But I think next weekend you'll see a lot more shield stuff, to be honest, because the meta's been like mainly armor. So I think people are going to ban a lot more armor, BC, and drone cores. So next weekend you might actually see a lot of shield stuff.
Well, that's what I was trying to say earlier. You see a lot of drones now because it's really, really hard to ban them outright, and I would not be surprised at all if somebody goes with, like, say, a VNI or VNI and Ishtar ban. They're gonna go, okay, Gila's, Worm supports, and Rapid Lights for anti-support.
Yeah, I mean that's like a 100% viable comp. You haven't seen it this year because of how I don't know, I guess really just because like shield just isn't terribly strong in a heavy, like, you know, lots of drones and lots of newts and, like, you know, Balgord webs. But yeah, I think next weekend you're gonna see a lot more of that, because I mean, like, another thing is like everybody in the world's flagship is like Armageddon or Balgorn. Balgorn's probably like, especially if you're going against a higher team where they probably have those nicer webs that reach out to like 40 or 50k, you're going to be like it's probably like it's going to really even the playing field for the lower T teams to ban out a higher tier teams like Rabisu, Guardian, Oneros.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, doing a Logi ban would really put a hamper on throwing out that flag Balgorn, but especially when we're looking at these battlecruiser core teams, they might just forego traditional Logi in favor of rep drones from those battlecruisers.
Yeah, I mean, you could do rep drone. Like, even if you ban Rabisu, Onira's Guardian, like you can still do double deacon or an Executor or something like that. I mean, it's not going to be like near as good, but it still allows you to fly. If you're one of those teams, like there's a lot of teams that they're just really just comfortable in BC core. They're really just comfortable in drones. Like they'll still have the option of doing something that they're comfortable in, even if they ban out like the most widely used 3 logistics.
Well, and the other thing about it is, I mean, you can still fly the T1, there's a lot less points.
Yeah, and you've seen a lot of Executors this year, so I'm sure you'll still see some of those going forward.
Yeah, I think it's going to cause a lot of, just strange comps because people are going to be completely unprepared.
That's what makes it fun.
Of course, some of those strange comps actually win. I mean,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't think we've seen anything too strange this year. Last year, you kind of saw like curse control, like the double curse setup. You've seen that, I think, once or twice this year, so that's not really anything. There's nothing really like revolutionary and new. I guess like our Bargus setup, that was kind of, a lot of people copied that last year, but other than like curse control and the Bargus comp, like there hasn't been anything like that everybody's more or less just like switched to or tried this year. It's not really anything terribly innovative.
Well, we kind of got some other stuff to talk about too. Wars and all kinds of fun stuff.
I like wars and fun stuff.
Well, it seems like in the last few weeks, just conflicts have erupted all over the map.
Yeah, what's the story with this whole CO2 thing? I saw a couple posts on Reddit. What's that about?
I don't know. You tell me. I'm in test and I don't even know.
Besides GigX Doomsday,
Dude, I mean,
I don't know.
I don't even know. Like, I'm with you, Vigi. Like, this kind of came out of left field, dude. Like, all of a sudden there's war. Oh, okay.
CO2, let's start shitwise while tests are deployed in the north. That's a good idea.
This is why everybody loves GigX, dude. It's an
Yeah,
alliance full of dudes
GigX.
that just want to fucking shoot spaceships, and he's just like, we're gonna go shoot these spaceships, and everybody's just like, cool. This is what we're
Yeah,
doing.
You,
All right.
you have
Actually
no idea
attacking-
how many coalitions he can whelp.
I mean, that'd be one thing, but they're actually attacking Sov and going after Faye, so that's a little different.
I don't know, dude. Based on stuff I've been reading today, this whole thing sounds like it's a war, but it's not a war. There's Sov, there's not Sov. Like, we're not hitting these regions, but there are random dudes that are hitting these regions. Dude, I can't keep track of what's going on anymore down there.
Yeah, well, I mean, the one thing I will say, there's been a hell of a lot of good battles down the south, honestly, more than in the north, that's damn sure.
Yeah,
That's
what the
for
hell,
sure.
Sappo? We leave and
What?
the good battles happen.
There's been spaceships we got to shoot. I promised we would shoot spaceships.
Wasn't it like yesterday that we had like both sides, one sitting on one side of the gate and the other one sitting on the other side of the gate?
I was in that fleet for 5 hours waiting for ProGod to go get his chicken wings so Sort would figure out what we were going to do.
You have no idea how important those chicken wings were to our morale.
Oh, you have no idea how much that just pissed everybody in Guardians of the Galaxy. We're sure that was some devious plot.
Couldn't just be Pro-God being Pro-God.
I
Well,
told you it wasn't.
being that I was in test, like 2 months ago, I assumed as much, but it was just funny. Okay, this is all a plot to make us give up. Then they're going to jump in. He's not really getting chicken wings. And is there anyone that knows?
I know
is
what
it
it
really...
is.
Yo, you
It's
were in
secret
test too, like-
espionage
okay.
chicken wings.
Dude, if you
with
were in test
specially
2 months ago,
encoded sauce.
You know what this fucking chicken wing thing is about and why it's so important.
Yeah, I do. I knew. That's
Yeah,
why I kind of
yeah.
knew. But it was just funny because I was watching it, and it's like, and after the 4th hour of sitting in a dreadnought waiting, I was like, oh dear God, please let this be espionage, because if we're really just waiting for a hot wing challenge, I'm gonna go shoot myself.
Wow, you were literally waiting for a hot wing challenge, dude. I'm sorry.
Yep.
That was really important. We closed the book on that chapter.
I thought it was fucking hilarious, to be honest, because like I told him like he literally just it's hot wings.
I'm pretty sure there were more people in Guardians of the Galaxy watching ProGod stream than there were in
Also,
test.
Jay, you sound kind of muffled, dude.
Yeah.
It was just funny because he started off on the stream when he's eating them, trying to like play it cool, and then by the end of it, he's just crying.
Yeah.
Dude, we were talking to him the day before. He was just like, "So do I really have to do the chicken wings thing?" We were like, "Yeah, you totally have to do the chicken wings thing." He's like, "But that means I have to like bring my webcam and like set up Twitch. Like, can I just like take pictures of eating this stuff and then like tell people I did it?" And just no, you have to fucking stream it. Like, them's the breaks. You got to stream this shit.
It was in the agreement.
Okay, this agreement is something that's new to me, and I think we should get a refresher for those who have not heard about this particular agreement, because this sounds like it's absolutely hilarious.
Well, didn't he lose in the Eastern District Court of Vale or something? I don't remember where he was punished.
The Kangaroo Court. That's correct.
It was...
Yeah, Eastern District Court of Vale. So we had a fleet that he was going to take us through some wormholes, and there was some debate about how best to get the fleet through the wormholes. And some guy who shall remain nameless, whose name for those in test rhymes with Schmart Schmangelus, told him that you could, if you jump the entire fleet through at the same time, the server can't calculate it in the same tick, and everybody will make it through just fine.
Yeah, I was on that fleet. As a matter of fact, I don't think I ever got SRP before I left test for that ship either.
Well, get fucked. Yeah, so you're not getting it now either, so fuck off. Yeah, so so of course, half the fleet jumps through, the other half gets stuck. So we have a thread or a forum called the Kangaroo Court where people can take their issues to a sort of court of law, and the punishment for ProGod that was levied out in that court case was he has to eat million Scoville hot wings.
Yeah, and the comms for that were classic. He's like, "All right, guys, this is gonna work, but you have to do it. If you don't do it, this won't work." And it was like, and then literally, like we clicked, and like him and like 5 other guys went through, and then you heard the rest of us just wormhole has collapsed, and we're like, "Well, shit." We ended up going and reffing some random wormhole guy's tower till he would come out and scan down the hole to let us out of the wormhole.
Yeah, we asked him.
Because of course none of us had
I stayed in comms with the dudes that got stuck in the wormhole, and like they were talking to this wormhole dude, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, totally, I know where the exit hole is," and we were like, "Oh, cool. Well, where is it?" And he was like, "I'm not telling you guys."
Yeah, that's when we started shooting his tower.
Yeah, I mean, there's only one way to get his attention, right? I mean, this is Eve.
Okay, we tried talking with our keyboards. Let's talk with our missile launchers now.
Dude, that fleet was a shit show. There was a lot of people that were actually pissed we were shooting this dude's tower to get an exit instead of Thunderdoming and calling it a day.
But we did Thunderdome at first, and like half the fleet died, and then half the fleet was like still alive and decided to shoot the tower.
To be fair, the half that decided to Thunderdome and die were doing so when the FC was like, "Please don't Thunderdome and die."
Yeah, Vigi was pretty much gone within about 15 seconds, weren't you?
Yeah, because I just started shooting people. I split all my guns and shot everybody, and then everybody shot me back.
But FC, Thunderdome is continuous.
All men enter, no man leave.
For the last
you
couple of months or so, people have been crying out for the Hot Wings Challenge to take place, and ProGod has had his lawyers involved to appeal the court's decision. He lost at appeal. So he did, in fact, have to do the Hot Wings Challenge, and we agreed that was yesterday. So that case is closed. The punishment served, time served, whatever. He's free.
Yep, yeah. And you managed to get an entire coalition to form and watch him do it.
That's good for his Twitch numbers.
Yeah, he had almost 1,000 Twitch viewers for that.
More than the Meta show.
Dude, we had dudes in test that were actually mad about that. Like, only flew interceptors on fleets because he hadn't eaten the hot wings yet. Like, this needed to happen, dude. We needed to walk away from that event happening and just. You
better listen, Guardians of the Galaxy. They just went from 800 interceptors to 800 phoenixes.
Yeah, actually. Yeah. Anyways, that's why that took so long. We had to get that done, and then after that, we did our move up. So whatever.
Yeah. I still think
at least we know that they have their priorities.
Dude, I mean, this is Test Alliance. Memes are always the #1 priority.
Well, I mean, in all of their major agreements, it actually has a clause in the agreement that they have to wage unrelenting Reddit war upon the target.
And here I thought your priority was cornering the market on inflatable dinosaur suits.
Dude, it's amazing how many people own those, like, in test. Like, they went on sale for, like, $25 on Amazon, and a bunch of people rushed out and ordered them.
I know. One of my supervisors at work got one of these, and She comes into the training room. This is during my training. She shows up. I'm like, holy fuck! There's a Test FC right there.
Eve is real.
Eve is real. I was there. Where's my scram? And everyone looks at me like I'm fucking retarded. So I play one of the Test AT ads, where you got the dancing dinos with the cards. And they're like,
okay,
oh,
I really
damn.
like that ad. CCP wouldn't let us put that in as a station ad. We tried.
I think the test ads have always been my favorite. I'm sure I'll get yelled at for saying that, but they there's a Dreadit one that I saw years ago, and I've always meant to ask her or somebody where that came about. But the one with the little kid and the chalkboard, where they spell out Dreadit is recruiting. Who the hell paid some kids in South Africa to make that ad, or Central America?
That was when, I don't know if it's still around, but it was a site called Fiverr, and you could give them
Yeah, it's
like.
still around.
Is it okay? Yeah, you could give them like $5 or whatever for a specific task, and then people would sign up to do the task for the money.
Oh my
and
God,
so we
that's
just
so
had dudes do that.
fantastic.
Yeah.
That makes it so much better to know that Dreadit money went to a third world country to make that ad.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, somebody was just like, it's worth the $5. I'm doing this, and it just happened.
For only $5 in advertisement, you can make sure that they have food to last them for a week.
They make more
I've
money
seen those
than that.
late night
but-
infomercials. It only costs 86 cents a day or something to keep them alive. So $5 is pretty okay.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus. This just took a turn for the darkness.
What?
Yeah, so
Infomercials
moving
can't
on.
lie. Like whatever.
In the grim darkness of the foreseeable future, there are only infomercials.
Infomercials are truth. You can't lie in advertising. It's a law.
In just 2 easy steps, you can feed a third world country.
You have to pay by check. You have to pay by check.
Go away, Sarah McLaughlin. Go away.
I mean, if you think about it, right, us blowing up these billions and billions and trillions of ships, we're actually, killing people in third world countries because we're not RMTing it and giving it to them.
Oh, how sad.
I came here to laugh, not to feel.
Oh, it's all right. We'll laugh again. We'll set up a Plex for good for Central Africa, and that'll make everyone feel better.
And then we'll go blow up another trillion-esque work holes in Delve.
Yeah, see? And the great wheel of life keeps turning.
I mean, it was only 600 billion that was blowing up before the first shot was fired in the war.
Yeah, you gotta love it when people don't pay a fucking attention.
Man, I'd be lying if I said we never had that shit in test. Like, even when our Keepstar was onlining, like Soda at this time, important thing to do. Everybody knows Keepstar's onlining. And right at the start of the State of the Alliance, some dude is like, my work's tackled in a place you can't bridge to. And we're just like, that's
unfortunate.
Great, yeah. What were you even thinking? Like, that's great.
Well, I remember the rule that was put in place in Darkness I actually loved. It was, if you get tackled and something, fucking die quietly.
Yeah, that's why Razor doesn't do a home defense. If people get caught in Razor, they have to.
Dude, when those
die
dudes were
silent.
dying in Delve, wasn't it Asher that popped into the intel channel and was like, just good, die, we're not helping you?
Yeah.
No, like literally their entire fleet was like next door. They're like, fuck off.
Well, even
Dude,
for the northern
seriously.
deployment, we were like 10 jumps in. We were still in Esoteria with all the capitals and subcapitals, and there's like a guy in intel. Help, my work's tackled, and everyone's just like,
no,
get
die.
fucked.
Yeah.
Well,
I had
your
one of-
one-way ticket to destination fucked.
I had one of my Eve News guys following the Goon fleet so we could figure out where they were going, and he's like, they just killed a Thanning. I'm like, what Thanning? One of theirs, he was too slow and kept getting something wrong, so they just went ahead and blew him up. I'm like, oh, that's great.
That's Darwinism at work.
That's your SRP dollars hard at work.
We had a guy.
Trust me, Atrum ain't reimbursing that.
Oh, there's the sheer quantity of orcs. I mean, give doing shit, but the sheer quantity of orcs that's dying everywhere is mind blowing.
Dude, their content is pretty great.
I had a chance to join in on a couple of Blops fleets out in Delve this past week, and yeah, down 4 or 5 Rorquals and a Hell and a whole bunch of other stuff, and found some random haulers who didn't get the memo, and yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, and it's been warned since a week before this deployment to keep your big shit away and not bring it out. What are people doing? Bringing their big shit out.
The Rorks were entertaining, though. They were quite entertaining, and several of them lit Sinos.
Well,
Well,
let's be honest, that kind of idiocracy goes on in every alliance. I mean, even in my own corp, I've got to explain to guys, no, you can't go super ratting or take your Rourke out when Test has 36 cloaky campers. They just, got to make those ticks.
I got on like
Like,
a
260 million
Sounds like
ticks.
just one dude. All right.
No, it's 15-minute ticks now, so it's like what, like 192 million ticks?
Valid.
well, hey, that's better than CO2 freaking, blowing up their routers after their CTAs.
I will say right now, I am sometimes a team killing fucktard, but I have never done it to be an asshole like that. And I saw that, and like, I understand this is a dark game. This is a game for assholes. But I'm looking at that and going, you did this because you lost a battle that he would not have been able to turn.
Okay, now hold on a second. Okay, now I asked about that, like why they did that, and the reason is this is an alliance that does CTAs. You have to stop what you're doing, be in the CTA, be in the fleet. It's an all hands on deck fleet, so that means you're not at home ratting. You are in the fleet. It was advertised repeatedly beforehand. It was pinged repeatedly beforehand. The message was very clear. You need to be in the fleet. Guy chose to super rat anyways. Like, I'm not saying what they did was okay, but I mean, you know what your alliance is about when you're in it. You know what's required of you when you're in it. You can't then be like, well, I mean, they did the thing they said they were going to do. Like, fuck them, right? Like,
Well,
Yeah, but who's to say like you don't want to make some dank ticks while on a CTA? Like,
I mean, shit, yeah.
No,
I have like
that all can
30
be used for other
miners
stuff.
going during
Like,
a
it could be
CTA.
eyes somewhere. It could be fast tackle. Like, you just use your ults for. It doesn't always have to be about crabbing ults, right? Like,
Well, and there wasn't even a single character from that corporation in the op that was part of it. Not a single character from that corporation.
I can
went to that op.
understand. We've had times in our alliance where like we've gone out, we've had we've been hype pinging up all day, and as the fleet is going out, some dude is like, my ratting carrier is tackled, and you're just like, I want to kill your ship. I just want to do it. Like,
But that's different.
everybody
That's
else
different.
is fighting and dying for the good of the alliance. Like, where the fuck are you?
This is 30 minutes after the CTA, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because he wasn't on the CTA. He was crabbing in his stupor the whole time.
Right. I mean, I look at it this way. It was 30 minutes after the CTA. They actually extended the CTA to figure out who was still ratting and whatnot. And I can understand being upset with people. God knows, our alliance has had issues with people like that, and we've kicked them out. We haven't done anything like this. I don't know. Maybe it's just, maybe it's just the way I am that I look at this and go, it's a dick move, and I understand that this is not a nice game, but it's like there's a limit to the amount of assholishness you should do, especially if you're an executor of a major alliance.
Yeah, but I'll say this from my background in CO2 and being one of his FCs. One thing that CO2 has always historically done well is those guys can flash form like nobody's business, and those guys always take a fight. But GigX is just, I mean, if you're in that alliance, then that culture is not that's not an asshole thing in that. I mean, the majority of the guys in CO2 probably thought that was great, and they had no problem with it. And I mean, granted, in another alliance, that probably would be a dick move, but
Sure, it's culture.
This is
you're
GigX.
exactly
This
right.
doesn't surprise
you know
me, and
what
I
you're
don't
getting
think-
into when you're in that
Yeah.
alliance. Yeah.
right.
Well, and
Right.
it's, I mean, a lot of people don't remember back in the day, if you were caught ratting your CTA, you would be blown the fuck up, no questions asked.
Yeah, it used to be real common, like pre-2011, pre-2010.
Dude, seriously, I remember being in the HPC, AAA was doing that to their dudes who weren't going on CTAs, because CTAs were sacrosanct. Like, you don't do other stuff. It's a red pen threat level Elmo thing. You are in fleet. You are not crabbing.
Of course, the other side of that, is a lot of people do, I mean, all fairness, most fleets are blue balled by different people, and, they're saying they're ratting on a Fanny or Nix or mining or whatever while they're in the fleet doing logi,
Look, I'm not saying that that's not a thing you can do. It's about whether you should do it and whether it benefits your alliance to do so. Like, okay, obviously it's because I'm in a different position than, say, that dude's in. But, like, from a leadership perspective, if you look at an alliance of a given size, you have N number of members, right? Like, that's just your pool to work with, right? So it sucks when people are like, I'll dedicate one of my characters to this thing that is very important, right? And the rest of them are busy growing my personal wealth, right? Like, it's a struggle to engage that member base and keep them facing forward and doing stuff and going on fleets and doing for the good of the Alliance. Even though they could very easily just put those alts in things that would be useful to the Alliance. So, the thing you take away from that just inevitably is those people that want to grow wealth are doing so at the expense of my Alliance, right? It's pretty easy, to follow, right?
No, I get that, and I agree with that. But I mean, the other thing about it you got to think of, right? Let's be realists. You know, let's say there's a lot of groups that just say, you know, fuck you if you're not, you know, an active PvP or you're out of the Alliance, go rent, whatever. And if you have that kind of, you know, I don't say attitude, it's not really an attitude, but that position, that policy, we're just going to stick, you know, alts and rental alliances or whatever and do it anyways, and you're never going to know, versus it benefiting the alliances, ADMs, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but you got to play devil's advocate.
That was
the
actually an
ADM
argument.
thing I refuse to accept is a valid explanation of why, or a justification of why people do that. I don't believe that is the, because you can just do that outside of fleets. Because it's not like a fleet is the entire fucking day, right? Like, you can just get out of that fleet and go back to crabbing, and ADMs will be fine, right?
Yeah.
Well, wasn't it 3 weeks ago that everybody was screaming content, PvP, PvP, because we had mostly a quiet summer where all people did was just rat. So, I mean, now we're seeing the flip side of it. And I even saw that in my
Can we talk about how awful this game is when everybody's at peace and everybody's crabbing? Like, can we be real for a second? Like, without a war going on, this game is pretty fucking boring.
Well, there's also another point for the super capital rating. If you're a super capital rating doing an opt, you're not concentrated on your fleet ship, so you're probably going to die very easily and not progressing properly.
That's exactly right. There's so much more to micromanage with your super. You're not paying attention to the stuff that's actually on the fleet. No, you're absolutely right.
And I get what you're saying, Jay, too, but then I also see it from the Alliance exec's position, because that Alliance is paying for that SOV. Their military forces defending that SOV. You don't even have that ratting space without that Alliance at its space. And granted, sure, you can go be in a rental alliance, and for some people that may be the way to go. Maybe that's where they belong, but for most of us that want that balance, you know, part of the responsibility of being in a SOV holding alliance is fighting for that space.
No, I mean, we're clawing and biting and scratching our way away from how it used to be, where it was just like Test was a hedonism island and you could just do whatever the fuck you wanted. And if there was an op called, nobody gave a shit if you just ratted instead of going on the op. Like, let me tell you about how that almost fucking killed us.
I mean, I'll play devil's advocate here. You know, how often is that guy on PvP fleets? Is this the first time he's done this where he hasn't been on CTA? What if he got on after the CTA started because of work? What if he's working early the next day?
Then he still should be running his fucking super.
Because it doesn't matter.
Then he shouldn't be. It's exactly right.
You don't have an interceptor. You have to load for everyone, so that's the problem. If you start,
you can jump into an intercept, fast tackle, fucking jump clone somewhere, get in, like, join the fleet, catch up. Like, it's not impossible.
Well, and anyone that joins
a 20 billion ship, you could.
Well, anyone that joins Circle of Two knows the culture there. They know that GigX is going to react badly to somebody crabbing during a strat up. Look at the pings. Oh, they're on a strat up. Maybe I probably shouldn't go rat right now. I mean, if I was in that alliance, this would not be a surprise to me if they showed up and blew me up if I was ratting at a CTA, because I know how that. I know the culture in that alliance.
They send out pings during. They send out, like, I mean, there was no way this kid didn't know that this was a CTA and he needed to be there. That was a conscious decision that kid made to crap. No, they didn't. It was Discord, I think, or whatever.
Yeah, CO2 uses Discord. I mean,
but I mean, even then, like, Discord is so much easier to get into, and you hear the notifications. Like, if you muted all the notifications from your alliance's Discord, so you didn't know when pings were going out, why are you even in that alliance? Like, what even is the point of that?
Obviously, ratting and supers and getting blown up.
Yeah, I want crab space.
For those dank ass ticks, that's why.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, let me give you another example. Like, okay, so remember during CSM season, there was that big to-do about that kid in the Imperium that, like, they sent out all their pings that were like, hey, this is who we're voting for. This is our block ballot. You know, please vote for these dudes. And that kid went on the Goon forums and made this post about, well, that's great. Hold my beer. I'm going to tell you who you should vote for.
Yeah.
Like, he got kicked. Everybody lost their fucking minds. Oh my God, freedom of speech. He should be able to do whatever. No, you don't get to do that. You know what alliance you're in.
Goons.
You're in the. You know what your alliance exec is like. You know he doesn't tolerate shit like that. You can't then be surprised when you get perjurinoed.
Well, and nothing in EVE is a democracy. It basically never has been. There's been a few alliances that have tried it. It's never worked. Why would you expect that freedom of speech?
Yeah, it works in freedom of speech, I guess. But yeah.
We're a democracy. It works.
There's no such thing as freedom of speech in like private organizations like that. It doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't.
I don't know. The way we've done it, as far as the freedom of speech thing is basically like, you know, especially when it comes to like, I don't know, less so that kind of thing, but other things like you just like you tell some guy to like fuck off to another channel or whatever. But
my favorite alliances have been where people are free to shut the fuck up. I mean, to be honest, I don't really care.
Things honestly work a lot better in EVE as a dictatorship, and I mean,
democracies don't work.
No, they don't. No.
I mean, it's like DRF.
Effective leadership structure in EVE for what should be very obvious reasons.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I think it also depends on, you know, what power you're putting your executive and so on and so forth. Like, I mean, you know, something I've heard is like, you know, a democracy in name, but, you know, a dictatorship in reality, that kind of thing, you know, like, I mean,
it's okay
when
to
it comes to
solicit
a lot of
feedback from dudes and be like, what do you guys feel like we should do? And then maybe act on that. I wouldn't call that democracy. That's more like a focus group.
No, I love the saying, a friendly dictatorship.
Yeah, exactly.
A benevolent dictator.
You're Hugo Chavez of dictators.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when Dive was getting formed up, we had to figure out the best way to make that happen, and it's a dictatorship, straight up from the top. It's a dictatorship, and it's the only way to make sure that everybody follows a direction. Otherwise, everybody makes up their own direction, and then you gotta corral them back.
Yeah, that's
or
exactly
just
right.
risk everybody flying every direction, and it just goes away.
Well, then you spend all your time
like,
having to justify. You know, you spend all your time having to justify, and we're going to do this and this, and then everyone wants to put in their 5 cents. And I mean, Sort can be harsh sometimes, but shit, he says something and we just freaking do it. It's end of story. There's no argument. You don't get a lot of. I mean, you know, he'll pull the CEOs aside and we'll have a discussion about it. But when he says no, we're doing this. Shut up. Let's get moving. It just happens, and you don't have to argue and explain a lot of shit.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, with our experience, I mean, I guess I'd say if you are going to try and do something more democratic, it's really a question of drawing that red line of this is the point where we have agreed to this thing, otherwise you can fuck off. Like, freedom of speech is fine and all, but if you aren't towing the line after we've all agreed to it, then why are you here? Like, and I mean, if you can do that, which
that's pretty legit.
With some success, sure, but I mean, you can be a democracy, but you have to recognize that comes with a responsibility as a finger quotes citizen.
Well, it also comes down to, you know, whether you're a democracy or dictatorship. At the end of the day, you know, somebody has to make quick, qualified executive decisions and live with the consequences, good or bad.
Well, and beyond that, in most of these alliances, if the leader's bad enough, people will vote with their feet. But it also has distinctly to do with the size of the alliance, right? A cooperative some kind of democratic council can work in these little small alliances or these little smaller corps. But when you start getting to coalitions or alliances the size of something like Sapo Leads or SORT or even the Mittani, you just don't have a lot of time to get 10,000 feedbacks. You just got to friggin', I mean, I would even say the corporation that Vigi leads was a larger corporation. You just don't have a lot of time. You know, you get the feedback the best you can, then you just make a decision and people will follow you, or they'll vote with their feet.
I think it's very
I wouldn't say it's
easily.
depending on the size.
I think it's more about where you live and what your like existential threats are. Like Brave did very well as a democracy in low-sec. It wasn't until they moved to null-sec that the democracy really started to plague them. Like they hyper-factionalized under existential pressure, and it sort of fractured the alliance in ways that, you know, I don't think anybody really expected. I think when you have actual shit on the line that people give a shit about, then a dictatorship is way more effective. Because, I mean, not only does it cut the time out of, like, let's have a frank and earnest discussion about our feelings, but if your alliance leader isn't, like, in a position where he can make decisions, like, you know, doesn't feel confident in his own decision-making process or, like, seems to feel, like, obligated to, like, get feedback from every participating member in the alliance, like, that's gonna hurt you more than that helps you.
Yeah, I don't really think like anything like this is like an actual problem for any alliance in the game. Like nobody actually tries that shit. I mean, it's
well,
not anymore. It's proven it doesn't work.
Actually, FCON still does.
Really?
I mean,
FCON democracy? No, that's not right.
Yep.
I think like Manifesto, we're relatively speaking a small alliance. I think we are at about 800 people, and the way it's set up, and Paul can talk about this more, is each corporation, during a leadership meeting or something, each corporation gets one vote, and it really falls on the directors and the CEOs of those corporations to understand, what the line members would want. So you don't have 10,000 raging neckbeards, focusing on screaming, "This is what I want. This is what I want." It falls on the individual CEOs and directors that are part of it to know their guys well enough to be able to cast a vote, if you will, to in the direction that they would think that they would want to go.
Well, not to be a dick, but I do want to talk about what happened to your guys' group, because you were plastered all over Reddit about a month or so ago.
What, to Manifesto?
Yeah.
I'm very interested in
for
hearing
sure.
what happened to Manifesto as well.
All right. Should I talk or?
Well, since you're the one that got yelled at by guards.
Like whoever knows the story, just fucking tell us the
Yeah.
story.
All right. So I'll try and keep this short. Okay. So basically, we formed our alliance in Great Wildlands from the fallout of another alliance, the Corvos, whatever. Anyway, we did sort of a one corp, one vote thing. Our deal was basically we were gonna just kind of hang around and get content, whatever, and not be too attached to Sov and so on and so forth, whatever. So hilariously enough, we actually started off by like rolling the Sov of like try and so on. But anyway, so we ran into Macabre Votum. You'd know them, Travis. They went and formed their own alliance for a little while there, Memento Moriendo. Anyway, they moved in. We made friends with them. We went down and did this campaign against Feign Disorder. Memento left.
Wait, hold on a second. Wasn't Memento Moriendo like the remnants, like the reformation of Morsis Mihi?
It was two corps that basically kind of got trolled out by NC Dot, Macabre Votum and Nexi. They joined, made their own alliance. I don't think it went too well, and then one of the corps merged into MV, and then MV rejoined NC Dot.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so they were friends with Pixels, which was I guess if I gather correctly, a bit of a Kadeshi spit-off. And so anyway, Memento left. We were still friends with Pixels, so we had a bit of a ratting couch there. We were able to use a couple systems, do our thing, whatever. Anyway, it got to the point where we had so many fucking carrier routers and all this kind of shit. It was okay, well, let's take our own space. So, being friends with Vanguard, we had blue status and stuff, but we weren't in Vanguard, and we made it quite clear we wanted to be independent and that kind of thing, and make our own decisions, not be, stuck going on their CTAs and, all that kind of crap. So we went and took our own space in Wicked Creek. It was this big drawn out war or whatever, but we established a NIP with Vanguard, because of our friendship with Pixels and, having a modestly good relationship with Garst. So yeah, we took our own space, fought fucking Feign Disorder, Iron Armada, and all their friends for a very long time. Try/Vanguard would occasionally come and help us, and we went and helped them a handful of times too. And for example, we went and helped them with when that King Voodoo guy when anchored a bunch of Astrohuses up in Ethereum Reach or whatever. We helped kill those while they were on a deployment, that kind of thing. Anyway, so yeah, we were a strong independent alliance that didn't need no man, made a bunch of nips, that kind of thing. Feign got kicked out, or our friends TBC moved in. TBC was getting attacked by a bunch of people, and then they were getting a lot of help from Hell's Pirates, and somewhat to a lesser degree other members of Vanguard, but 90% Hell's Pirates. So they decided that they were going to join Vanguard, and at the same time, Combat Wombat and Fumade and that whole situation up in, what was it, Tenel kind of area, they were moving down and they were going to join Vanguard. And so we got that information from TBC, and then at the same time, Combat Wombat started cloaky camping us and stuff. And Pat went to TBC and was like, hey, how do you feel about us invading Manifesto? Because they wanted to give the space to Combat Wombat. And TBC was and so was Hell's Pirates. We're whoa, no, these guys are our friends. Why would you do that? And this is, of course, when Garst was away. So basically, Pat went to us and was like, look, we're expanding into Wicked Creek here, join our coalition. And I mean, basically join or die, right? So we basically came up with a plan. We were like, well, we want to be an independent alliance. This is bullshit. But at the same time, we also lost a bunch of PvP members who were more interested in doing sort of deployments and that kind of thing. And so we weren't sure, like it was literally the day before, so we weren't sure how many members we were losing. So we were like, well, we can't come up with a defense strategy here if we don't even know how many guys we have. So we agreed to it and came up with basically a plan that we would sit on our shit until we felt we were in a position comfortable enough to leave. And a lot of that had to do with, we'd fought pretty hard for our space, mostly on our own, against Fane and IA and Salt the Earth and Sock Puppet and fucking Rain and all that stuff. I mean, only half of those are, good names, but...
Did you say Sock Puppet? What kind, just out of curiosity, not to... Okay. I'm sorry to get tangential, but what kind of fight did Sock Puppet actually put up? Like, did they actually have numbers? Did they actually fight?
They mostly had that. The one really big one was they had that guy Xanax Commander Army of One or whatever, the fucking 20-man multi-boxing team, and that guy would show up in spider tanking drone boats and that kind of thing.
Damn.
But
all right.
yeah, no, they had literally from the time that we started moving in, when we moved in, we had a guy PM us and please kick in the door, I beg you. And then they had a coup because the guy who was running it wasn't doing jack shit. And then they had another interim leader, and then after that guy got kicked out, and then they had another leader, and then these other guys, it was they call themselves Black Sheep Coalition, moved in. And so we had pushed Socks completely out of the duo pocket. And so Socks was all the way back to what's that? The FQQ pocket.
That's
the FQQ.
Central Wicked Creek, right?
That's right in the middle. Yeah, that's our home. Yeah. That's our home space.
Yeah, that was the ancestral jump system connecting Innsmother and Deterid for a long time. Yeah, I get you. All right.
Yeah. So anyway, these Black Sheep Coalition guys. It was Short Bus Syndicate, Infensis. Quinn, do you remember who else, or Spectre, rather? Bloodline, I think, was there.
Bloodline, yeah, Bloodline was there. Other than that, I mean, this is going back a while. I'm not going to recall too much of it.
Yeah, anyway, they moved in. Their whole deal was they were going to be a big shot coalition. They broke off of the GOTG, I think it was, because they went and started some war with some
I'm sorry, just real quick, who was it that did this?
It was Short Bus Syndicate.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Short Bus.
And a bunch of their friends.
That's right. Short Bus did break. Okay, that's right. Yeah.
Didn't Stun come down and fuck with you guys, or was that Short Bus?
No, Short Bus.
Yeah, it was Short Bus. And I mean, they basically got in touch with us because they were trying to get blue with Vanguard and stuff, or a NIP. And Vanguard basically told them, you have to invade Feign Disorder in order to get a NIP with us, is what Vanguard told these Black Sheep Coalition guys. And anyway, yeah, they basically Sox was already on the verge of failskade, and when this giant 300 tune or 3,000 tune rather fledgling coalition moved in, they basically shit their pants and failskated. So yeah, that was their deal. And I don't know, the Short Bus had a lot of plans and stuff, but their FCs were dubious at best. There's a video out there. If imagine if you go ask some fan guy, he could get it for you. Literally, they webbed down the anchor for a Cerberus fleet, and so the rest of the Cerberus fleet just approached the anchor while all the Serbs sat in a bubble, and Fane's 100 MN Tengus just slaughtered them in the middle of a bubble. It was really quite sad. It's funny, in the original video, he's like, I feel like I'm ratting. Anyway. So yeah, off of my tangent. Yeah, we basically got told to join or die, and we made up a plan that we would leave basically once we got our names engraved in space, because when stations change over, they're gonna turn into they're gonna have a little outpost
faction citadels
thing. Yeah, well, not only faction citadels, but they also said there's going to be like a little like monument. This is the last alliance that own this, and then like systems like BTAC-R and that kind of thing are going to have like a little thing saying like, you know, this is the history of this station, whatever. It's going to be a decommissioned station monument, if I understood it correctly. And so we wanted that. We'd fought pretty hard for our space, and, you know, it's kind of cool to have that there. So that was our plan. But then, you know, Garst had reached out to me and pretty much everyone else in the coalition and asked, like, you know, how do we feel about Hades? And, you know, we had pretty mixed feelings. I mean, on the one hand, we had received a lot of complaining from them because Hades was just absolutely pissed that we had taken that space because they wanted the moons from it or something. And then, like, they wanted the northern pocket there, right above the 30U pocket there, and north of the just central area. It's like the area connecting Innsmother. But they didn't do anything with it, and so we eventually took it. And I told Garth, like, you know, they whined and complained about this for, like, months, and finally we just got pissed off and took it. Like, so... we flipped that, and you know, that's what I told them, but I said, you know, like, they do still come out on fleets, and they're really active about helping people, so I don't see why anything needs to change. And then Hades got kicked out. And then at the same time, you know, they had been the guys that were helping TBC so much. So TBC was obviously, you know, they were pissed about this. They weren't getting support from the rest of Vanguard for the most part. And so they decided, like, we're going to leave like this. And so they started, you know, talking to FCON and that kind of thing. You know, we went like, okay, the two groups that are basically, you know, propping up our membership here are leaving. And, you know, Hades has already gotten kicked out for inactivity. I mean, we had decent participation in fleets. We were usually, you know, second or third in terms of U.S. time zone participation. But at the same time, you know, the question was, okay, well, when are we on the chopping block next? So instead of doing that, we were proactive. We started talking to people. We talked to Fane and IA. We got a good relationship going with IA after Fane left. We had a NIP and everything, and when Vanguard violated the NIP against them, we were advocating on their behalf and trying to cool things down. And so we were, like, you know, trying to get advice from them, sort of advise assist kind of role. They made a channel called Fuck Try, and that ended up getting leaked through Marrowbone to, if I understand the story correctly, it got leaked through Marrowbone to Catweasel. Catweasel left Marrowbone and then sent that over to Garst. And so that got leaked to Garst. And, you know, the way, because Catweasel only had snips of it, it of course looked like we had this terrible plan that we were gonna, like, you know, call in people through wormholes and invade Triumvirate or something. Like, I'm like, are you fucking high? Yeah, okay, yeah, our 600-man alliance is gonna blow up your Keepstar. All right. So anyway, well, 800-man, whatever. It doesn't matter. So, yeah, and I mean, that's where we're at. And I had the confrontation with Garst, and I mean, he basically said, we won't touch your stuff if you don't fuck around with us, and like, okay. And so it's been pretty quiet. You know, there's been a lot of shit posting on Reddit and propaganda and that kind of thing. I mean, just recently here, though, fucking Stellanova is all mad. Before we even joined Vanguard, we asked them if we could throw an iHub up in the system, SG Tech 7 something. It's in Scalding Pass. Anyway, we're using it for a jump bridge so we could get to TBC and so we could get to Great Wildlands. And I don't know, I guess apparently this is in violation of a NIP that we don't even have, and so now they're like attacking it and arguing that we're like violating some NIP or something. So we went out there and they blue balled us thoroughly today. But so, I mean, they're desperately looking for Casus Belli. I mean, I had a conversation with Pat after and he was all saber rattling at me quite hard, but I mean, like, I don't know. I think we can hold out against them. I mean, our towers might, you know, take a few hits if we get a shit timer or whatever, but like, otherwise, I mean, it's back to the same old. Like, we want Wicked Creek to be an area for small and independent alliances, do sort of a fight club thing, if you will, and just go roam around. Like, we don't want a whole bunch of blues. That's one of the reasons we didn't join Vanguard in the first place, is just we like sending out small gangs and then having a place to farm and having it all in the same place. That's why we hold SOV. We aren't like a figure.
Like, this will end up being
like
alliance. What, the 8th time that Wicked Creek will have been set up as like a fight club? Like, what is your expectations of Wicked Creek going forward? Like, assuming Try and whatever, all these coalitions like back down or whatever, like how do you turn a region that is let's be real, I lived there, yeah, like I know this region, objectively it's a dumpster fire. How do you turn that into like good content as like a fight club?
You know, we actually, like, there were various times that it's really unfortunate. Like, we worked with a lot of different groups. You know, like you'd know Melzy. She
I
made
would.
that alliance. She made that alliance Madhouse, and we tried being friendly with her, but she's fucking aggressive as fuck. Oh my god. And she just like immediately jumped to like, oh, we're gonna destroy you. And eventually she fucking calmed her shit, and we were trying to support her. Same thing went with Salt the Earth. I mean, I guess he didn't saber rattle as much, but I mean, we tried to support these groups as as much as we reasonably could. We'd send out fleets to help them with whatever their problems were. Whatever. Iron Armada, we decided to back away from it because this was one of those democracy things. We were like, oh, we don't want to fight Try's super fleet. And so we decided to basically just call them out on their bullshit in a big diplo mail we sent out to like FCON, Coalition, PFED, and we sent it to Vanguard and like Fraternity, a few others. But basically that's been the thing, is like we've tried supporting different groups and they all just died because they didn't have the will to, just keep fighting this endless bullshit. We seem to have a lot more stamina when it comes to soft warfare and that kind of thing. Like we fought Fane for like fucking 6+ months and it just endless cancer fleets fucking, like running around in fucking windrunners and 100 MN Tengus and all this kind of shit, right? Or they'd run away and they'd reship again. I mean, I don't know. A lot of people don't seem to have patience for that kind of bullshit. I mean, I do, but so I mean, it's a matter of like, so there's some new alliances in the area. I mean, there's these Japanese guys. We've been kind of making some contact with them. Katna, what are they called? Samurai Sold Out. And I mean, we've been trying to be friendly with Wombo-ish. I mean, there's a lot of shit talking between line members and stuff because of the
Madhouse
whole
is a
fallout
good
there.
example, right? Like you call it a fight club, right? You establish these ground rules, right? And I know Slice was a part of that too. Like at the time, like you go, okay, so these are like when it's acceptable to fight and when it's not. And what you basically done is you've established a hyper granular NIP with like your regional partners, right?
Yeah, that's literally what we did. We just said nip, and I mean, other than that, anything goes. Like when we had a nip with Frat, they like blew up one of our supers. Like it was like, okay, sure.
Right. So how do you like? I guess my question is like how like the future of fight clubs like that. Like I think there's one in Queria still. Like the future of that seems pretty grim. Like because everybody wants to save their crab space, everybody wants to save the flags they've planted and stuff like that, and so like you get people like, let's say, Madhouse, who are a bit paranoid. Like how do you what's the word I'm looking for? How do you get people focused back on the Fight Club mentality and away from like rules lawyering nips?
Like literally, like the way we've done it is like, okay, don't shoot structures, don't cloaky camp, and other than that, pretty much anything goes.
So has that been working? Because like it seems like that was like the idea with the previous fight clubs, and that has not worked.
Honestly, it was really outside sources and mostly Vanguard that really disrupted our ability to do that. And so I've been talking with the PFED to some degree, and they've been modestly supportive of that kind of thing. I talked to Jay about it as well. We could maybe have some good diplomatic relations. If there's some really bad going on, then maybe finger quotes, we could get a bat phone or whatever. I mean our experience has been as long as you're maintaining good relations and bringing people good fights that are your neighbors and not necessarily in the fight club, then you can get that support. And I mean, when it comes to the people that are actually in the fight club, it's really when that regional threat comes, you talk to them. Okay, do they just want space to live in? Do they want to join the fight club? Whatever. I mean, if they don't, well, then we all just blew up and we fight them. Like, I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It's sort of a mutual defense, but in times of finger quotes peace, we're all running around murdering each other.
Yeah, some of the traditional fight clubs, it seems like there always seems to be one alliance that emerges as the strongest amongst the rest, and they just kind of end up eating the rest of them, either via poaching or they just grind them out of existence. And then when that outside power comes in, no one wants the blue anymore.
Yeah,
they all fucking hate each other.
Isn't the Querius Fight Club, isn't it that like administrated by the Imperium?
To stronger
entities.
Yeah. And they actually have in their agreement that if you become too strong, they can order you to disband and take you into the...
Yeah, so I mean, I can see the fight clubs, if like that area was administrated by like a much larger, more powerful coalition alliance, like a test, and or in the case Aquarius Fight Club, I could see those surviving, but eventually either goons move away or they get new space or someone bigger comes in and wants that space. I mean, I guess it can work in a chasm for a while, but eventually someone's going to come want to kick
Now,
down the castle or
just to
take
be
the
clear,
space.
This is pretty much bringing us right back to the whole dictatorship versus democracy discussion.
I don't agree.
It really seems like it, because if you have an administrator over it, it's pretty much a dictatorship at that point.
So here's why I don't agree, because you need, like, in order for these to function like as pure fight clubs, you need oversight. And typically the participants in the fight club can't act as oversight of the fight club because they just typically aren't big enough to be that sort of adjudicating body, right?
Right.
There needs to be somebody like DRF or Goons.
Like
Guardians
Goons or
of the
DRF, yeah,
Galaxy.
exactly. Yeah, there needs to be somebody there that if there's a dispute, they can mediate that dispute and, like, bring resolution to the issue, and that typically means with force.
Well, I mean,
Right.
You know, okay, you guys are being dipshits. We're gonna glass to space and, you know, reset everything.
Right.
Well, if it's going to get to that point where the space is going to get blasted anyways, isn't it almost equivalent to just have them get absorbed over time?
Yeah, but nobody
If
wants,
the
nobody
large
wants to be
group ends up
absorbed.
absorbing everyone, then it's sort of the same resolution, but with a slightly different. I mean, the resolution's the same, but the outcome is slightly different.
Yeah, I don't see the whole point of the larger entity just absorbing them, though. That kind of,
Yeah, it defeats the purpose.
yeah, it defeats the purpose.
But it automatically happens because people get tired of being farmed, then they switch over to the guys that are around there anyways, are bigger and stronger, and well,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
hits on them.
I mean, that,
I haven't
If
seen
anybody
a
went
lot
into
of
the
people
fight
being
club and
absorbed in
actually
these
went
fight
into the
clubs, to be
fight
honest.
club, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, sorry. I was just saying that I haven't seen a lot out of these fight clubs. I haven't seen a lot of these groups get, like, absorbed. Like, they're a part of a coalition or they're a part of a thing because it preserves the fight club ideal, but they don't typically, like, I don't know, they don't wide out, they don't merge, they don't do that sort of shit. Like, when the fight club's over, they just take off, right? Like, Affirmative is a good example of that, right? Like, QFC fell apart and they just fucked off.
right. I mean, we saw this happen when we had Salt the Earth living, like, right next to us in the 5Q65 pocket. It's like literally 3 jumps away from our staging. I mean, we went in there a lot to go and fight them or whatever, and I mean, eventually, because of those pressures and, you know, their exec, I think, was kind of away. I mean, we had a few groups that ended up from that ended up joining us, and then I mean, the rest of them just kind of fucked off.
And I think it's almost foolish to believe that kind of an entity could exist indefinitely.
Well, here's the thing: is it's kind of going to come back to what Vanguard did to us as Manifesto. You know, we've had a lot of groups that have been in the area, and I want to say around March, Stella Nova ended up beginning this campaign against a couple of the smaller groups, and we figured, okay, well, third party or something, and Rune, the executor of Stella Nova, pretty much said, look, I'm kicking these people out, I'm evicting them because they don't provide my alliance content, because we're primarily EU and the groups we're kicking out of US, which, you know, Manifesto pretty much is. We're very heavy in the US time zone. She wanted to install renters or whatever you wanted in whatever you want to call them, in Wicked Creek that were more Eurocentric. She wanted to do it so that she had content, and that's, you know.
I'm sorry, just real quick. When you say she, I missed who the she is. Who is the she?
Rune, the executor of Stella Nova.
Yeah,
Gotcha,
it's
okay, sorry.
Rune on Gravenair, I think is the complete
Well,
name.
I think what everybody's trying to say is pretty simple. If you're a small group and a group like Vanguard moves in, you're kind of fucked. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Well,
And
it's the
you don't-
nature of Eve.
To a certain
Well,
extent,
hold on.
yeah. Okay, sure.
Well, but more than that, if you don't have friends like a large coalition, you guys are just gonna get your shit pushed and either turn into rental space, or your moon's farmed, or their buddies put in place, or whatever. I mean, it's just how Eve is.
I mean, and we saw that. We had Stella Nova several times violate NIPS.
It's always
And-
been N+1.
And this is actually where it kind of ties into what happened to us. Several times
User
Stella
in your
Nova had
channel timed
violated
out.
not just our NIPS with us, but other groups. And we knew Stella Nova wanted our space for their growing renter empire. So in March, when they were kicking Iron Armada out, they actually had their super capital pilots cloaky camping our systems to prevent us from third partying and stuff. We had already seen that Vanguard was willing to violate NIPS, and when we went to Captain Patrick Archer, who at the time was the acting CO, his response was, you know,
User joined your channel.
They've repeatedly expressed the desire to do away with NIPS, and you know what? I'm probably going to allow them to get rid of NIPS on an individual basis, as in Stella Nova would not be bound to the Vanguard NIPS or other diplomatically negotiated things that Garst had done for months. But Triumph Vanguard, they weren't going to get involved. So when we saw that on 2 or 3 separate occasions, and then we're forced into Vanguard to keep our space, it kind of became this whole thing of, I would love, and this is just speaking from an individual perspective, not on behalf of anyone. I would love to believe Captain Patrick Archer when he says, look, you're free to leave whenever you want, no hard feelings. I would love to believe them, but all the leaks, all the diplomatic leaks of them planning to attack PFED or to reset DRF and attack them, the constant violation of NIPS because they could, who's going to stop them? You? I don't think so. You can understand in a way how we might be worried, because history, those who don't pay attention to history are doomed to repeat it. And we were next on the chopping block. We knew it. Despite all this crap that Garston, Patrick Archer, and Rune and all of them have said, we knew that we were on borrowed time, because Stella wanted our space. Combo Wombo and FU Mate had been promised our space when they came down. Captain Patrick Archer, and I have the recording of this, actually told the executors and directors of both those alliances, you're getting Manifesto space. They don't know you're joining us, though, so feel free to cloaky camp and violate the NIP. Just don't fucking tell them anything, because it's plausible deniability on our part. And the entire time, he's not saying anything. He's trying to play both sides of the road.
User disconnected
it's a
from
great
your
way to
channel.
get hit.
I mean, this is the thing, is, just sort of returning to the original point that we were discussing here, is that, we had been looking for exactly that sort of, not necessarily in terms of, like, the policing, but at least that extra support in case of that outside entity coming in and invading shit, right? That was the kind of relationship we'd been working out with Vanguard. I mean, when I talked to Garst, like, after we had established our NIP and stuff, he's like, all right, you can go ahead and make Wicked Creek Thunderdome or whatever IDK, right? That was his spew. So, I mean, that's what we were trying to work out, and it just, they consistently kind of, backed away from that.
Well, one of the things that bugged me, and I think we have, I think almost everybody here is senior leadership or has been senior leadership in Alliance or Coalition.
Except for me.
Except for you. But I think one of the things that really kind of bugged me, and I'd love to hear each one of your guys' thoughts on this, right, is, in that recording with Peter, right, you confronted him and said, well, Patrick's been doing all this shit. And he goes, well, yeah, I know, but it's not my responsibility, right? That kind of really just bugged me. As an Alliance leader, a Coalition leader, or senior leadership, you're absolutely the responsibility of whoever runs the Alliance if you've been put in that position.
Well, that's the thing. Is like, in real life, I'm a captain in the Marine Corps, okay? I've been an executive officer for a company. When the CO goes on leave or he's otherwise unable to do something, it falls on me to kind of direct things. And at the same time, I'm expected to use my best judgment and make decisions that way. And when the CO comes back, he'll look over that stuff and be like, you know what, Lieutenant, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this. And maybe he'll go out and do this like company level message to the senior staff, NCOs, and officers saying, hey, look, this isn't going on. But he never shirks responsibility, because it is his responsibility. Garst really doesn't have the ability to claim a lack of continuity of leadership because he hand-selected Pat to be his replacement.
Well,
This
except for the
isn't
fact
like
that this
they
is a
took
video
vote.
game, not a real corporation or
Abs-
industry, or I understand exactly where you're coming from, and I understand that frustration. But I mean, people are not rational actors, and people that run
no.
alliances very commonly are not like business savvy or like C-level leadership like myself. I'm just a drunk idiot.
No,
Yeah, but the only thing you
absolutely.
have, hold on, the only thing you have in life or Eve, right, is your word. Period, end statement. The most successful people in
No,
Eve.
I agree. You especially in senior leadership, you trade on your word. No, I completely agree with you. But I mean, like your expectation going into this, right, can't be that these people I'm negotiating with are like, you know what I mean, like captains
They're
of
on the same level
industry,
as I
or
am.
like, yeah, exactly. Like I take this shit pretty seriously, yeah. Like back years ago, it used to be like there was sort of a decorum and like a process to things, and there was sort of a professionalism observed. That doesn't really happen anymore. Let's be real. Like
Well-
people, new Eve is very give me content now. I'm bored of that content. I'm done. I'm going home. Like it's not. It's weirdly millennial and very instant gratification.
And the zone game is played by the top, not everybody.
Sure.
Well, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. As far as, you know, if say UAX said something, right, you'd expect it to happen, good or bad.
Yeah, UAX is a businessman. Everybody knows what to expect from UAX. The other thing about UAX, he's been playing like what? He's been in charge for years and years and years. He is old
2004.
Eve, dude. He is old Eve personified. Like there are very few people like him left in this game. I've gotten burned so many fucking times just on the whole, I trust you, you know what I mean? We have a trust relationship, I'm giving you access to this information, and what happens when they get angry and leave? They leak logs. Or they tell people all of these crazy things about how things are run, or how I personally do things, or how I personally am a dipshit. Like, it just doesn't really work on the level that I think that we're portraying here in this conversation, right? Where you expect a sort of transparency and a sort of honesty and professionalism. I don't think that's there in Eve anymore.
Well,
there's one thing you're ignoring though. There's what is that sometimes it's
There's
intentional.
probably many things I'm ignoring.
Well, no, sometimes it's intentional. Sometimes, you know, you've got your mad dog that you just let him do what you want to do, and then if you make something that you like, you know, it's your, you know, oh yeah, I was behind this. This was a good idea. If he does something that he doesn't, it's like, well, why did you take him seriously? You know, he's never supposed to be taken seriously.
Yeah,
like I'm the opposite of that, right? Like Durherder went out and traded on the test name, and he did really well. When he didn't do well, I own that shit because I put him in that position to do that stuff. That's my responsibility. My point is that not everybody does that. Like not everybody heralds from ye olde days, where you know you give an alliance notice when you leave, or you are trusted with this information so you don't leak these logs after the fact, or just whatever. Like,
but I will say
there's
is
a professionalism you expect. I don't know that that's as prevalent as it used to be.
Well,
But some of that's perpetuated by the person on the other side of the relationship screwing you when you say, oh, by the way, we're on our way out, or we didn't do this, and they do something where they screw you over on the way out. And so, like,
I mean, look, that doesn't
best not to
change
say a
my
goddamn
opinion.
word.
I still carry on ye olde ways because that's what I know, right?
Well,
but like,
here's-
if you're a brand new exec, like you just became an exec of an alliance like a month ago or whatever, yeah, like if you just started playing the game like a year ago, even a year ago, you might not know that this stuff exists, that there's this kind of smoky backroom etiquette.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
sure.
I think the other thing too is though, on the flip side to with Manifesto. So I talked to a lot of people in the middle of this whole Vanguard Manifesto stuff for some articles I was writing, and what I found is in almost every one of the conversations, like in Manifesto's case, I mean, you were forced into try at gunpoint, right? In Marrowbone's case, I mean, she saw all, you know, those chat logs. She saw all the, we're going to reset this or we're going to do that. I mean, they were familiar with the backstabbing and the constant violation. So you almost can't be surprised when you get kicked out or when they're going to violate it because they did that to begin with. So it's like almost owning, you know, this is what they're going to do to you. You know, this is how they operate. So don't be surprised when they do it to you as well.
Well, and
Exactly.
I think that's what it boils down to. You know, you have a lot of older groups that, you know, they talk to each other and they trust each other, right, to a certain degree. And then you have newer groups who just, you know, I mean, I get Trambert wanting to reset everybody and get content. I mean, but there's been groups that have done that the right way and still, have friendships with, people all over Eve, right?
Well, Elise said that last week, right?
Dude, I mean, as far as I can tell, Try are content sluts, and they're just going to make whatever decision they can to get content, however good or bad that decision is.
Yeah, you're
I'm
not
not
wrong.
saying that that's good or bad, but that's just like that going in with working with them, right? Like that's how they operate.
And that's just it. It's like I wrote our piece for INN, and I kind of I laid everything out, and I am a huge. I do not like Captain Patrick Archer. I think he's a duplicitous son of a bitch. I think he can't be trusted with anything. I think you give that kid a foot, he's going to take a mile. He is the reason that if Vanguard ends up failing, he's going to be the reason, because he can't be trusted with anything he says. Who he surrounded himself with Stella Nova. I won't say Wombo or Just Let It Happen, because they came in too late. But the people he surrounded himself with, the yes men, the people who didn't have the balls to say, look, let's look at this a little more. And then Garth's not saying, look, giving us a fair shake. That's what bothered me the most, is he didn't give us a fair shake. He wasn't going in. He said to Paul, hey, I want to do this. I want to have a chat. But he came in with this set idea of what happened. He wanted a narrative. I personally have no problems with the vast majority of Vanguard members, to include Garst. I really don't, because I feel like all of them have been played by Captain Patrick Archer in this entire thing. And I'll say that right now. Yeah, I shit post on Reddit. I shit talk them in local. But at the end of the day, I got no problems with the majority of Vanguard players. And I think I speak for the vast majority of Manifesto when I say the exact same thing. Wanting to reset us for content, fine. We can go back to what we had, because we had great mutual fights and we were there. When Vanguard deployed up to Venal to screw around with Guardians of the Galaxy, Manifesto was one of the few groups in Wicked Creek that defended their SOV alongside Vanguard, because we were asked to, and there was a mutual respect and there was a history there. They threw this out the window for a narrative, and that's what really bothered me the most.
Look, you can say what you want about Patrick Archer, but let's be real, that dude has a sexy fucking voice.
I mean, this is Eve, right? Narrative. More wars are fought over bullshit narratives than they are over facts. So, I mean, that's also part of going in eyes wide open in a lot of these things, I think.
Look, I just want to say too, talking about old Eve players versus new Eve players. I mean, look, I would not call myself an old Eve player. Like, my core reckless endangerment, we started off, we were a bunch of fucking faction warfare scrubs. We were called Green Berets. Right, anyway, that leader wasn't accountable. We overthrew him, whatever. It's a whole long story. But I come from a bit of a different background. We went to wormholes, and then we went to Losec, and we just kind of ran around and pewed people, and we made good relationships even with the people that we shot. Like, we ran an NPSI group, which we're rebooting, by the way, Perpetrator Fleets. And we made good relationships even with people that we shot at, and this kind of thing. And I think maybe it's incumbent on people that believe in that kind of decorum to have that network. Because if I hate to use real life as a parallel, but there have been plenty of backstabby motherfuckers in real life too, right? And there have been people who have been more honorable, respectful, whatever, who perhaps banded together. And I think maybe that's the thing, is those of us who do give a shit about being reasonable human beings just need to have those lines of communication open. And if we want a nullsec that is, or soft nullsec I should say, that is more has that kind of reasonable diplomacy, we just need to be willing to, just as I think we've seen maybe to some extent with PFC and DRF dealing with Vanguard, is they just recognize now, and they've been quite open about it, that hey, these guys you probably shouldn't trust them. And I think maybe that's the thing, is like, we just need to be proactive and try and foster relationships between those of us who do give a shit about being reasonable human beings.
Here's the thing though, is that the game is more interesting when people are assholes to each other. One of the reasons you get these months and months and months where there's no content is because people go to the table and they stick to their diplomatic agreements. The game is far more interesting for players at every level when people are being assholes to each other, when they're backstabbing each other, when they're starting wars for no goddamn good reason.
Dude,
the failure.
Vigi's right, dude. This whole GOTG thing with GOTG and Test, like none of this would have been entertaining for Test line members if Sword Dragon hadn't taken Pro God's like presence so personally.
And it's more than that. Is the more diplomatic agreements, the more reasonable people are, the more people don't shoot each other. The more blues you get, the more fucking you want people to not like each other.
Well, see, I don't. Yeah, I agree. But the thing about it is, right? I mean, how do I put this? Saying fuck you, and shooting each other. That's that's one thing, but
it's interesting.
Sure,
it's interesting.
But it is. That human factor doesn't really exist in other games. There is no driving narrative in games like WoW. There is no, like, my guild is better than that guild shit in a lot of other games. It exists. It is a purely Eve thing. Like, this kind of shit is Eve, right?
Yeah, I mean, 100%.
Well, I mean, if it does exist in other games, in a lot of the games, it doesn't exist at a level that can be qualified that well.
No, for sure.
Well, if you think back if you think back to 2012 when you had OTEC and you had all these diplomatic, and you had, I mean, these you're talking about the ye olden days, and we talk about how great this and great that was.
So Eve, like the Galente Ice interdiction, extremely Eve. Like, oh my god, this shit is so crazy, and it happens here.
Yeah, but everything was so scripted. I remember there was a lot of us, and I think I was in Vigi's Corp at the time. We just pretty much driven out of the game because content was so dead, because everything was so diplomatically agreed to. Everything was so scripted.
Document that PL and Goonswarm signed that was like 10 pages long and
called the Botlord.
Yeah, the
remember,
Accords.
I mean, the HBC in Montolio, remember how we were told that Sov Warfare was horrible, and Shadow was trying to get us to do Thunderdomes because we would hate Sov Warfare, but that was all about protecting all these diplomatic agreements and preventing warfare.
It was literally protecting OTEC and their tech moons, yeah. Yep. That's right.
So, and I mean, a lot of people drove us out of the game almost, and it wasn't until the moon reshuffles that all of a sudden Sov Warfare was fun again. Why? Because the moons were in a different location again, right? And then as some of these diplomatic backrooms fell apart, I think you found the game got interesting again. So, I mean, I like to, even at Eve News 24, you know, I want people to take me at my word when they will tell me something or are willing to give me information to help put an article together. So I agree with the people who want to be able to take people at their word. But I also don't want a game where everyone can go to the UN every month and just, all right, we're going to work this out at the UN. We're going to issue an agreement and everybody go back to ratting. Because
you don't want a game of trade embargoes? Well, how dare you?
I unironically do. I'm not even kidding. I mean, I really like and respect that shit. I get it kills content, but holy shit, that shit is like interesting to be a part of. It's just interesting.
No, that's why you're in leadership though. But like at a line member level, you want a fucking game of chaos.
I agree. It's been 4 years of like diplomacy, the game in Eve. No, I'm with you. But I mean, like,
diplomacy
I don't know.
Always be a thing, though.
Wouldn't I mean? In the whole woulda, coulda, shoulda, in the whole fucking what if alternate history, what if PL had decided to back out of OTEC and prosecute a war against goons with Test like back then?
Awesome.
Like, I mean, sure, on one hand it could have been, on the other hand, who knows how that would have played out. It could have played out exactly the way it like did play. I don't know, man.
Well, actually,
I don't know if those agreements really helped or hurted anything other than destroying or damaging personal relationships. Like, I don't know.
The amount of ASCII we're making from OTEC and Botlord was insane.
Yeah, I mean, sure, but I mean, like, it stopped content. Like, it didn't foster content. It created monopolies and cartels, right? Like, even as recently as when Test lived in like Wicked Creek, the remnants of N3 still had like a hafnium cartel, and were controlling the hafnium prices in Jita, and we didn't know at the time. Like, this kind of stuff is uniquely Eve, but it exists and it is interesting. It just like. I understand, like, as a line member, like, you're looking at this stuff and you're probably just like, that's really gay, and I don't get to fight dudes because of this shit, and that's dumb. But on the other hand, just marvel at the spectacle that is Eve. Like, this is emergent gameplay at its finest.
I'm not saying
you have massive coalitions on top of shadow coalitions, on top of agreements, on top of NIPs, on top of all this different shit that generates massive incomes that then generates fights, massive fights down the road. I mean, BTAC-R was a good example. A lot of that was funded by what?
The casinos. No, I'm sorry.
No,
BTAC-R was OTEC.
First thing was, Goons never would have been Goons without Vile Rat putting together, the Imperial. Then you had Bot Lord and OTEC that funded massive Super and Titan fleets that then blew up in 24 hours of AIDS.
I mean, I don't think anybody here wants to be playing Hello Kitty Island Adventure. Nobody fucking wants that. But I think, people do, even in a game like this, we want to be able to go to somebody and be able to take them at their word. I'm not saying make a giant blue donut like we had before Fozzie or before whenever, pick a day. I'm not saying that we should have that. I don't think anybody is really saying that. But what they would like is, like with Try, being able to trust them when they say something. Or, Goons. Say what you will about Goons, okay? They're a bunch of scamming assholes, whatever. I have never seen Goons allow their diplomatically negotiated NIPs and whatnot to be violated by a member or
No, I don't fuck around with that stuff at all. No, you're absolutely right.
Well,
Yeah,
and
but
that's the thing is, like, hold on. That's the thing is, we may not like Matani, we may not like Asha, we may not like X, Y, and Z in Goon Swarm, but when they say something and they put their word on it and they put their reputation on it, for lack of a better phrase, you can take that to the bank. Say what you will about Goon Swarm, but when they say something, they will do it. And I give them props for that. I would like everybody to be like Goon Swarm, wanting to get out there and get the fights and get in everybody's ass, and we have another giant war. But when they say something, you can go, okay, I trust you.
Well, it's pretty legit. I have not
like
seen
everyone
them
to be like the
violate any
Joker.
of our diplomatic agreements, to be honest, like, ever. That's very legit.
Well, I think the other thing about it is, if you get known as a group that does violate your agreements, you're not going to operate at the level of Goons or even Guardians of the Galaxy or Legacy Coalition or DRF, because you're not going to be able to grow that big. I mean, just period, end statement. People aren't interested.
No, that's certainly true.
You.
People don't want to work with people that go back on their word. You're absolutely correct. Dude,
It's also
we were saying that earlier.
basically-
Like, you trade on your word in senior leadership. Like, you give your word, something's going to happen. If nobody believes you, nobody wants to work with you.
Well, and let's be frank, most of the large coalitions are led by the old guard. I mean, at least the senior leadership, right?
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah,
I mean,
also-
DRF, the top 8 people are all been playing since 2004. I've been playing since the beta. You got Legacy support. You've been playing forever. Guardians of the Galaxy Sword's been playing forever. I mean,
To that end, I've literally never heard anybody say anything ever about XDeath going back on his word or some agreement that fell through or anything like that. That guy is pure business. Lots of other old Eve dudes are like that too. Like, we have a deal, we're sticking to that deal. If you violate that deal, if it's one of my random dudes that violates this deal, that guy is gone.
Well, and the other
Yeah,
thing about
that's
it is,
basically also the part of your fallback strategy, right? So if you people know you are a guy to be trusted, or you're an alliance to be trusted, and you fall in hard times, then you have a chance to get a good deal, because people know if they make a deal with you, they will get something back.
well, and it's more than that. With the old people, I mean, you know everybody, right? And if you fuck one of those people, chances are they're talking to all the people that matter in Eve. And if you fuck them, they're gonna get you one way or another. It might take them a year, it might take them 3, but they're gonna ruin your day, because they know the Vinces, they know the Sapporos, they know the ladies, they know everybody in the game pretty much, and they have lots of favors.
Well, I mean, look, I think a thing too here is I mean, like, just because you have agreements with people and stuff, I mean, there's plenty of Casus Bellis out there. If we look at, sort of cartels and stuff like this, right, OTEC is an example. I mean, look, if you have a problem with somebody, screwing around with, trying to monopolize a market, I mean, that's a perfect casus belli. And you can go after that kind of thing, right?
I think
and
maybe that's...
And it also is a question of what kind of content are you looking for, right? So if we talk about, Manifesto, we're more focused on, small gang, that kind of thing. And I think even in a sort of nip-neutral environment, like, there's a lot of opportunities for that. Like, literally every day we're getting fights. I mean, shit, you can just go shit on somebody's roar call and get a capital escalation, no problem, like,
At the moment, except in Delph.
True that.
Then you get a super cap escalation.
My killboard is proof of that.
I don't know. Narrative seems like one of the dumbest things Eve has going for it. And I understand the concept. I understand it drives engagement, but holy fuck do I hate it.
Well,
It's one of those things.
It's so...
As we're on a deployment driven by narrative, Sapo.
Okay, now to be fair, it turned out that the narrative kind of wrote itself from the dudes pioneering the deployment, and that was kind of funny. But like, I remember like early on as a Diplo, like we were really heavily narrative driven, and so like a Diplo's primary job at the time was like, here's the comment section on TMC, they're spinning this narrative against us, go control that narrative. And like that kind of shit, like it's so easy for trying to control the narrative, for that to get away from you and work against you. And it's so much easier in Eve to just say, we're not narrative driven, we're here to like blow up spaceships, we play this game for PvP, let's be real. So there's a group of dudes, we want to pop their spaceships and kick over their sandcastle, let's just go do that.
Yeah,
like,
I think
the spin thing really hurts you in the long run, I think.
I think that there's also room, definitely. I mean, sometimes you need bad guys. You need villains. I think the goons do an excellent job of this, even if they do, as Spectre was pointing out, hold to agreements and this kind of thing, is they do a really good job of playing the bad guy. And I'm okay with bad guys and stuff. But, I mean, if you're going to make a deal with them, I guess it comes back to, you just have to recognize, you're making a deal with the devil. And I mean, I'm okay with people being the bad guy. I mean, shit, I think the codes and goons of the world and all that kind of thing, I mean, we go on and on through the list of different people that just,
Well, I want to be
with
clear
shit.
with something
I mean, that's
too,
cool,
though.
but...
I want to be clear with something too. The Imperium is a lot different than it was back in 2008 when they toppled Bob. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Right.
The interesting thing, Vigi, about this war is that on a personal level, I didn't really have anything against SORT when we started this thing. I didn't have anything against GOTG. Just wanted fights. Sounded like fun. But as this thing has progressed, it's gotten more and more deeply personal. Bitter's a good word for it. Bitter is a good word for it. I suddenly, like, I've gotten called out, and I don't know why, and I have suddenly a personal reason to be angry about this kind of stuff, and it's just like... This could have just been content. It could have just been shooting spaceships. It didn't have to be, here's an Alliance update about how this guy's a shitbag. Like, fuck, dude.
Or disclosing a hidden agreement.
I mean, think about me, Zappo. This is a coalition that I used to lead.
That was pretty fucking gross, too. Like, I don't really get that either.
It's one of those things. Eve is... It's...
Actually, hold on a second. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but Vigi, how do you feel about this? Like, you're kind of in the middle of this.
So, I mean, like, a part of me, like, because I knew a little bit beforehand that where we were going and what we were doing, and a part of me was like, should I say something? Should I say something? This is a coalition I helped build. Do I really want to see harm come to them? And, I'm like, you got your loyalty's got to be to the alliance that you're currently in. If you don't do that, then, you're trading on your word. And so, I didn't say anything. And as it's gone on, just seeing some of the people who weren't in GOTG when I was, and what they say, and even some of the things Sorta said, more and more I find myself wanting to, make it a real war and not just a content deployment. Like, I want to punish some of these fuckers because I'm just like, oh, you can hide behind PL Super Umbrella and you think you're tough shit because you can do that. And, I can't stand it.
Well, and I want to...
Dude, I'm with you. I didn't have this shit going into this. I just wanted to shoot spaceships.
Well, and I'm going to attest to it, and so was there when the agreement was drafted up. I mean, without going into details, it was very clear the intent of test was not to actually have a real war with Guardians of the Galaxy. And, they, agreed to certain things as far as not going after certain, things in Guardians of the Galaxy space. And, they put it in writing. And, it was, very clear that it was just for content.
Well, I don't speak
man,
for
it's evolved over time. It's gotten kind of weird and personal for people.
And it's gotten that way. I could even say from the Guardians of the Galaxy side, right? As a CEO in Guardians of the Galaxy, it was, okay, Test is coming up here. Oh, okay. The corp that I was in for several years, Vigi's corp with lots of friends and people in Test that I still like a lot are coming up here. And I was sort of on the other side of what Vigi was talking about. It was weird. But then it even got bitter for us. I think the PGL post saying something about, he's stealing from you. How can he throw down a keep star and all this? I mean, a lot of us took that personally. And so I think it was on both sides, right? It just sort of became personal and the narrative of just good fights and turned into sort of a grudge match. Cause it went from just, oh yeah, we'll go fight them to, Gerd Test.
I mean, we saw that with World War B, where the narrative became very personal. It wasn't we're fucking with goons. It wasn't we're screwing with Imperium or CFC or whatever you want to call them. It was Mittani. It was really going after Mittani especially. And I understand why. Look, EVE Online is this oddity in the MMO community where literally people in days can destroy what you worked months and years to obtain. And I think that's what really drives a lot of the personal attacks and whatnot is people look at this and go, I spent so much time and so much ISK and so much stuff to get to this point, and I'm gonna lose it because of these guys. And it just hits that small portion. It's that small part of you where even the most the nicest a person they snap, and it becomes very personal to them because in a way, you're watching, like in real life, you're watching something you built and spent weeks and months and years on just be taken away from you in hours.
I gotta disagree with you.
That was a paycheck war for us. We went into that not taking it personally at all. We just wanted the money and fights, and then it got kind of personal. Kind of got away from us.
Well, I gotta disagree though. I mean, the World War B that started at Mittens. I mean, in all fairness to Mittens, I mean it was all about taking him down.
It was him and Scion.
Yeah. I mean,
well, it started off as, didn't it start off as fucking like TMC articles about casino money and something between him and SM or the dude at SMA?
It started in BTEC-R.
It started in BTEC-R, but I think the real catalyst, the two main catalysts were the whole Mittani wanted to kickstart a book or something, and it fell through, and then the Viceroy program where Mittani wanted to pretty much, make Losec bend the knee, take over the moons and stuff, and people were looking at this and going, what the hell? And I think, CCP was looking at this and going, oh my god, this is going to be amazing. There were a couple of catalysts for it, but this is something that's been building for years. Just like you said, BTEC-R was really the starting point.
Well, I mean, let's be honest, it was back at the fall of Bob. I mean, Bob never went away. Goons, became ascendant through the work of Val Rat. But Bob never really went away. I mean, they're still around. I mean, it's like N3. N3's still around, yeah.
I don't know that I agree with that.
I mean,
it's easy to draw those connections, but I don't think that it legit exists like it did. You know what I mean? Like, all of these organizations evolve over time. Like, one thing, to the Mittani's credit, and I'm not trying to bend the knee or kiss the ring or suck the dick or whatever the fuck the expression is, but just fucking, the guy is good at running an organization, to be honest. Yeah, totally. It tastes like pennies. But, like, look, he fucking, like, the guy is good at running an organization. He has a pretty decent sized organization to run. He's pretty fucking good at it.
No, you gotta respect the organization. I mean, it's like, I've heard a lot of people over the last couple of weeks saying, oh, goons are fucking shit, and goons ain't gonna do shit, and goons fucked up their move up, and this, that, and the other. And I mean, the truth is, you underestimate goons at your fucking own peril.
No, I think they're still either the superpower or top 3 in the game. to this day. I think they've downplayed stuff while they rebuilt in Delve, but they got out of World War B mostly intact. They may have lost their meat shields, but they came out a lot better off than a lot of people try to herf and blurf about. And yeah, I'm the same way.
That's pretty legit, yeah.
Well, I mean, my view on it, and not going into detail, but I think they actually came out at the end of the day stronger. I mean, they're almost the same size. Yeah, they absorbed a bunch of groups. I mean, Fort can talk about that with Razor, but not getting into that. I mean, the numbers speak, right? I mean, they trimmed a lot of fat. No offense to any alliances who I might be referring to, and they beefed up their shit. They've been building for over a year. They learned a lot of lessons from World War B, and they're way stronger than they were before World War B, and people just don't see it or believe it. But it's the truth. They're I mean, look at NCPL. They're having a rough time of it, right?
Well, they did something really infuriating too. Oh, sorry.
It's fine. I was just gonna say it's really interesting to see how they went from arguably the lowest point that the CFC or Imperium had been in, which was the end of World War B, to within 6 months, and even faster than that, they had taken over Delve, they had fortified it, and they had become the powerhouse that was better than what they had been, because now they had an idea of what they wanted to do. They weren't going to consolidate 3 different regions. They were going to consolidate into 1, maybe 2. And look at them now. We're getting nerfs to Rorquals and stuff because of goons. God damn it. I mean, well, I'm being facetious on that, but it's, being able to do that, not, all the people that stayed with them, and good for them. I'll be honest, I was kicked from TNT. Okay, I'm blacklisted with goons, and and I won't say that I love the Imperium. I have my problems. I think Matani is a lot of herf and blurf, but I will give him credit where credit is due, and I have absolutely no problems admitting when he's right or when he makes a good point. But it almost becomes, goons are just a showing of what can happen when you pick yourself back up by the bootstraps and keep on trucking.
Well, I would say Test is an example of that too. I remember being in the HBC when we fell apart, and then being in Test and in Dreadit when, Exile Defection Warfare. And I would say that their alliance, I'd say both Goons and Test have a unique, they're based around an outside organization, right? Reddit or something awful. And they've built sort of a core membership that goes back so far, and it's very easily identifiable to each other. And the core people that are in Dreadit today are the ones that have been there forever. The core people in Goons have been there forever. So the names are same. So there's sort of a legacy to that. And those are the groups that can survive those kind of things. I don't know that Goons were as bad as we like to think they were at the end of World War B.
They were. We survive by out-of-game communities, right? Like, shit gets too hard, we play other games, we watch movies together, listen to music together. The community is as strong around other areas of interest as it is around me. That's what kept us together through faction warfare and all the other shit. Just focus on other stuff, make life less hard.
Yeah.
Well, but I think. Sorry.
No, go, bitch.
I think the thing with Goons is everyone was convinced that they had hurt Goons more than they really had. I think if everyone had followed them,
you're absolutely right.
If more people had decided to follow them to Delve and to make Delve hell to take, actual real damage could have been done. But he had so many years of stability with the CFC and later after they rebranded the Imperium that I think it was short-sighted for anyone to start the victory celebrations thinking that just 3 months in Saarinen was going to be the thing that broke apart this coalition that dominated the game for essentially 6 years.
Well, and I mean, they just, like we talked about Bob, right? I mean, they didn't really go away, they just reformed and evolved. And Goons never got disbanded or went through in reality.
They got disbanded.
Like Bob did.
You remember Cartoon?
Yes, I remember Cartoon. I mean, and the other thing about it is, everybody's forgotten that Goons had essentially been homeless before, right? I mean, DRF, helped them out a long time ago.
These guys love, I mean, let's be honest, in that culture, and the guys that I had talked to, for them, losing space or a setback or losing a war doesn't hurt their pride so badly that they fall apart. It just makes them want to friggin', in my opinion, and from what I've seen, it just makes them want to come back at you twice as hard. They've got a real, and they've got a really solid culture built around that, and they've got people that they love to follow. And as long as you have that, as long as that's the mentality, I mean, there's some alliances. Tribal Band was one of them. We lost our Sov, that alliance was dead because no one was hanging around. There was not loyalty there. They've got loyalty and a culture there, and it's the same thing like Test we could speak to, and some of the other alliances are similar. That you take their space, you kick them around, you hurt them, you're probably just going to make them want to come back and hit you harder in a couple of years once they sort their crap out. And I think, again, Vigi is absolutely right. Goons were not nearly as injured.
Had Aura Iku, and he's the worst.
Oh my God, we were talking about him earlier, Imperial Guardians, but Vigi is right. Goons were not nearly as hurt. I think they played it up to that because people were getting their Sov and oh, I've got ratting space now. We've got Belkin. We've kicked them out of the north, and people got occupied with the space they were taking and more interested in that. And the Goons played a little harder than they were, and they just withdrew and went and set up new space. And I think I don't even think we dented their war chest or their super fleet in any significant way.
No, they have, as far as I'm concerned, infinity dollars. I don't even know how much they had going into that, but I'm sure it didn't make a dent on their war chest.
Well, I mean, they didn't even lose a super fleet because, I mean, let's face it, there was no major engagement, no really major engagement in World War B that happened. There was no.
MTACO was the closest major engagement, and it had 0 super caps.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but they actually just used that super fleet they had logged off there, just like today, did they not?
Yeah, they wiped out an NC.Loki fleet that decided that Intosicine was a good idea.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's other groups that have done that as well. I mean, I wanted to kind of, since we had 2 Darkness, former Darkness as well. I mean, when Darkness got their ass kicked out by Goons, right? And we sat in low sec for how many months? 2, 3 months maybe? And then we took back, all that space from Reavers and fought them for what? How many months? 2, 3 months?
Yeah, but I mean, that was very different. I mean, and Darkness got hurt by that a lot. That was not an easy. That was not easy. That wasn't not an easy month sitting in PR Tech and Delve. We damn near lost the alliance.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is we're talking about groups that have come back. I mean, there's a group that was almost smashed to the brink, and now they're one of the stronger the leaders of the stronger coalitions in the game.
Yeah.
I see what you mean. Yeah, we do rebuild so that we can hit harder. I'm totally with you.
Yeah. Do we think? I mean, what do we think about the current Goons? Is this World War B2, or is this just going to be we're going to come out, hit some stuff, and go back to Delve? And are we looking at the beginning of the big winter war?
I think this is just a content deployment for everybody involved.
No, I think it could become something more, but it would require the right things happening. Someone would have to show weakness that nobody thought was there. I think if the weakness is shown, people will leap and take advantage. The blood in the water. They have to see the blood in the water. Right now it's all content and funsies. But if people see the blood in the water, they'll go for it.
Oh, I don't think it's...
We need another low-sec Voltron.
Look, I mean...
I think Vicky's right, actually, yeah. That's a really excellent point. Everybody thinks it's a content deployment until they start making real fucking, progress when there's real blood in the water, and then everybody's gonna dogpile in the north.
Right. I mean, I think it really, I don't even necessarily think it needs, finger quotes, weakness. I think it really requires, some really nice battle reports, that kind of thing. If people can draw that content out, they will, right? And I think that's good for the game, too. Shit, we're making plans, that we can go and, do stuff out there, too. Because, it's there, and it's so large scale, and it's all over the place, and that draws people into the game. When World War B happened, player activity went through the fucking roof, and I think we reasonably, if we get some of the battle reports and stuff out there, if somebody hits something really valuable and you get that battle report, regardless of whether or not it's a Pyrrhic victory or somebody loses or whatever, that's going to draw people in, and that's going to make it a driven thing. And I mean, it's easy to hit fucking, tribute from Losec. It's easy to go into those areas and fuck around. Like, I mean, you don't need much. Like, shit, just go to Jita, pick up some shit, dump it off in the nearest Losec station, and do your thing,
Well, all due respect, the goons thing is not just for funsies. You don't bring 2,000 plus caps up for funsies.
No,
I think you do when you have those kind of numbers, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
But
lot of
my point
funsies,
is-
dude.
My point is, you don't drop that kind of fleet. See, what's going to happen? Okay, look, 2,000 caps, right? You drop in the right conditions, and you kill, let's say, a couple trillion in NCPL supers, right? Do you think it's going to stay funzy at that point?
Oh, yeah, no, the assault will be real. Like, yeah, and I mean, that's the thing, right? Like,
But-
it doesn't even require big losses. It's just a big battle report, and the fucking, like, the shit will hit the fan. People are going to be pissed, and people are going to be ready for content.
No, but see
Yeah,
what
but yeah,
happens.
that's how this what
the
would
outcome
goons
of
do
that
with
battle.
space now. So
No, but the outcome of that battle matters. See, if the goon, let's say the goons are the ones who do it, and they drop a big ass dread bomb on NC dot and PL supers. If the goon dreadnought fleet basically gets slaughtered and doesn't really kill that many, then the deployment might last for a few more weeks, but it's pretty much over. But if all of a sudden the goons get, let's say they kill 20 Titans, well then NC dot and PL, they don't look so strong anymore. They look weak. They're going to be considering, do we use our supers and titans, or do we not use our supers and titans? What if this happens again? How many times can we have this happen and still, have our super capital dominance? And then things get interesting, because then there's no one defending the space. Then they're not willing to use that hammer. And then, someone says, I'd like an upgrade in space. It could even be goons. They could say, you know what? Declan's open. Maybe Delve isn't the best place to be anymore. I'm not saying they will. I'm just saying that maybe Tess says, I'd like Declan and Branch. That's how these things happen. One battle happens, and all of a sudden, the big boy don't look so strong anymore.
But what I'm trying to say is, you got way too many heavy assets in such a concentrated area. This is the shit is gone down one way or another. It's just who and what and where.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what the Russians decide to do as well.
Sit and collect rent. That's what.
Some say you gotta do it.
Gotta make them dank rentics.
Gotta pay for that apartment and the new car. I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Sasha has to go to school. I kid, I joke.
I probably should have said that.
Well, if you said cases of vodka, it'd be more believable.
Actually, no, Silent Dodger. I don't know if you guys remember him. He used to be in charge of RA. He actually was like taking the SRP fund and using it to pay for his apartment.
Oh
I
god,
remember
back in 2004 to like 2008, the RNG was mind-blowing. Like people were paying off houses and all kinds of crazy shit.
I can't remember. It was someone in the drone lands was collecting system rentals via PayPal at one point.
Yeah, I think I saw that actually. It wasn't like... That was probably one of the best e-commerce websites I think I've ever seen.
If you're gonna do it right.
Dude, I'm not even kidding. It was like, here's a system. These are pictures of like the planets. Like, here's what moons it has. Like, what anomalies it can spawn. Like, it was crazy in depth. And like, pay for this system with PayPal, and everything was hooked into like rental agreements and APIs and shit. It was actually really cool.
And like an automated CRM. Not that I know anything about it.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
But I have heard rumors.
I think I saw a similar thing for, what's that wormhole system? Nova or whatever it was called? I don't remember who ran that, but I saw a site that was for renting in Nova, and it was, oh my god, it was so good.
Hey, if you're gonna do RMT, get a website and pay people to do things that drives traffic and revenue. That's a smart way to do it.
Look, I'm not making a value judgment on RMT. I honestly don't give two shits about RMT. I just think it's interesting, like how technologically you can man, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Just how good that rental website is and that technology is. It's better than most apartment complexes. Like, it's just insane.
Well, I mean, the amount of like craziness people go to in certain aspects of these games, whether it's services or rental or whatever, is just mind blowing, to be honest.
Oh, I mean, in Darkness.
That's very true.
I mean, in Darkness, even Test, right? But I mean, I've seen some of these Alliance services put corporate websites to shame. I mean, the one that Geek Warrior put up in Guardians of the Galaxy, it blows my mind, the stuff you can do with it and the information. So yeah, this game, we tend to take, I don't even know what the word is, but it's a whole level. I mean, I guess that's why Eve is what Eve is, right? Because
we don't take the technology that people develop in this game for granted. Like, I commonly just like look at test off and I'm just like, this is a thing. I click on these things, it does this thing, but the back end for it, oh my god.
Well, it's like Summer Blink. I mean, look at the work that went into that. I mean, RMT or not, it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give props. I mean, a lot of the IT guys out there, I don't care what alliance you're in, like our guy, I'll just give a shout out to him, Bond Rollard. He literally programmed from scratch an API tied backend for our Discord. So like, you join our alliance and then you leave or whatever, it's going to kick you automatically off that Discord. We have like a timer bot, it pings all the shit. We have an SRP processing program, all this kind of shit. Like it's professional.
I don't know anything legit about what goes on in PanFam because it's a fucking black box, but I have heard a rumor that they have a bot that if you lose a super and you don't have it replaced within the hour, it automatically kicks you from their super capitals group, and that is fucking amazing.
No,
if that's
actually,
not...
a lot of groups have that, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, in Guardians of the Galaxy, the one we have, because I sold a super that I had, and I wasn't going to buy one till the next day, and when I logged into Discord, my super group was gone.
Dude, that's amazing.
Or like, it's...
that's legit better access control than most businesses I've done identity management for. Like, that's actually incredible.
Or the intel tools. I hear rumors that spy masters, have everybody's pings and relays and discords, and they're sitting there reading everybody's mail, just in one centralized location. That's just mind blowing, right?
Yeah, dude. Like, the tools people build in this game are fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Not that I know anything about that.
Some are questionably legal too.
Yes, of dubious legality.
Yeah, dubious legality. Thank you. That's much better phrasing.
I just like the opportunity to use the word dubious. Thank you very much.
I think Peter needs to head out.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm like I said, I'm drunk now, so.
No, everybody's drunk, isn't it?
Oh, success.
I hope so.
I mean, that
being
could
said,
be
I need to hop out because my Bluetooth headset is about to die.
All right, why don't you give us a quick shout out before you go?
Who do I even shout out to? Hi, Bond.
You can shout out me. Give me a shout out.
Yeah, shout out your corp man.
Subaru.
I'll give a shout out to Blitzkrieg. We are recruiting, just like Manifesto is. Manifesto's recruiting. All right. Have a good one, guys.
One of the last independent alliances in Eve. In Sovnal.
User disconnected from your channel.
What space are you in right now?
Google it.
Well, I think I'm gonna call it here too, boys. It's 12:50 in the Eastern time zone, and I haven't watched Game of Thrones yet, so.
Yeah, me either.
I'm telling you right now,
the cancer killing this game.
Episode 4 is the cat's ass.
Shut
dude, that final scene.
Shut the fuck up.
Blow your mind.
Whoa.
I'm not leaking anything. I'm just telling you, you're gonna enjoy it.
Shit.
You're gonna enjoy it. That's all I'm saying. Okay.
Can you mute him, please?
Terrible person. Can we go to war with Manifesto now, please, Hero Jones?
So what?
Dude, I don't know. They're gift up with Vanguard. I don't know if we can do it.
Can we call that war the Game of Thrones?
We call it Game of Fortizars?
Before you leave,
Fire.
when we close the show, you always get a shout out for recruiting or for your corp. So before you leave,
We'll get DRF involved and it'll be a game of drones.
Also, before you leave,
we already play that amongst ourselves.
I have recently been informed that Metal Ravenous is doing his gimmick in Gita Local.
He is.
Fuck
He's been
that
doing it for
fucking
weeks,
douchebag.
Sapro.
Fucking hate
Jay,
that
holy
goddamn
shit.
asshole.
Well, Jay was in my corp at one point in Sapo, so he actually knows him.
I know
sorry for
exactly
your
what
loss.
the fuck he did.
Yeah, so,
That
yeah,
guy's something
Metal
else.
Ravenous, boys. Well, anyways, thanks for having me on. Had good
Guy's
fun.
an epic fucking
Hey,
fool.
nice
Yeah,
to see
Vigi,
you,
dude, you're
Vigi.
the best. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, man.
Wait, you gotta do a shout out. You haven't done your shout out.
Yeah. Shut
Yeah,
up.
do your shout out.
What? No, I'm
What do you
good.
mean you're
Yeah,
good? You have a
dude,
corporate. You
plug
do
your
your
fucking
shout out. What are you talking about?
corporation. Plug your corporation. Come on, man. What kind of loyalty
Alright.
is that?
It's my corporation. I don't have to be loyal to it.
Holy shit!
Vigi disbanding tomorrow.
Well, I've got my headline for tomorrow.
User disconnected from your channel.
Oh, and he leaves. Wow.
Oh,
this guy.
just like that.
Wow. All
Game
right.
of Thrones killing this game. Thanks.
I'm seeing a story on EN24. Soko disbanded.
No,
You
Vigilante.
heard it here first,
dot,
ladies and
dot.
gentlemen.
It's my corp. I don't need to be loyal. No, Soko's a great corp. I was in it for many years, well, along with Jay. So
Yeah, they're good guys.
even though I'm Guardians of the Galaxy, I'll definitely shout out for them. Soko is always recruiting.
Unless you're a dude.
Southern Comfort, in their second tour of duty in test, not as bad a place as you'd think.
Is that your shout out?
Warp drive active.
I just tried to
Yeah,
shout out
we aren't
for
as
him,
bad as
you
you
know.
think.
No.
Whatever,
See,
fuck off. I don't know.
see, Sapporo promised to do a Subaru commercial and a Reddit, Reddit is recruiting.
Oh my god, my wife finally saw my Subaru commercial, and like, so that was an interesting conversation.
You were
Do you love
drunk.
Subaru more than me? Of course I do, baby. Well, that was the wrong answer. Well, oh.
But
I
you
thought
remember
that-
what was it, Crass Kitty interviewing?
Yes,
God
and it was
damn,
so fantastic
bullshit.
because for 5 minutes she had no clue what was going on. She's like, "Is this related to World War B? Why is he talking about? I don't get it." And it was just like the look on her face was
Like,
fantastic.
I remember that interview being like 30 seconds long. Like, after that fight in MSACO ended, I just started pounding rum, and like, it got like someone trolled me into doing this thing. It was like, I remember it being 30 seconds. I woke up the next day and watched the whole thing, and oh my fucking god, that Subaru commercial is amazing.
You got on after
You can
Dur,
blame
right?
me. You can blame me, Sapporo. I told you.
Dur got on after me. Were you the one that asked her to ask me what my favorite kind of car? Because that was
Yeah, that was me.
unexpected.
That was
Okay,
me.
Okay, that was pretty incredible. Apparently, that's been a pretty amazing recruitment video for test. I don't know how.
I thought it was hilarious. I figured if I got you talking about Subaru as drunk as you were, it'd be just funny no matter what.
Well, isn't
Well,
that where
apparently it worked.
isn't that where the Legacy Coalition came from?
Yeah, Villy
Legacy
wouldn't let us
Subaru.
pick a meme name for we were almost the thinking emoji coalition. Like we were really memeing out with the coalition names. And like Villy was like dad voicing us. I'm like, no, you have to pick a real coalition name or whatever. So I tricked him. And like by the way, let me back this up. Like we were trying to come up with names for the coalition, and like our head diplo actually like Googled list of cool sounding words. And like we were going through the list, like the amalgamation, like the team, like just all this other random shit. And I was like, what about Legacy? Hoping nobody would pick up it's a model of Subaru. And it turns out, not only did nobody figure out that it was a model of Subaru, they also weren't around when I talked to Chuggy to get our coalition color on the coalition influence map set to the hex code for World Rally Blue.
Oh.
Well, and see, most people still don't fucking understand that Legacy. They think it's like Legacy Alliances or Legacy Groups, you know?
Yeah.
Or people bitching about postcode.
So good.
Yeah, that's a good one. See, these are the stories that just make New Eden worth it.
Alright, real talk. Fuck Postcode. I'm just saying. Oh my god. The number of times I've set up a goddamn silo, I'm like, okay, this is good. I come back to it, it's been processing. Downtime happens, and like, oh look, I haven't been harvesting my moon for a week. God damn it, CCP.
I'm pretty hyped for this pos shit to go away. I am looking forward to not ever having to set up another tower.
I'm just,
Oh, you don't?
I don't know. I'm
You
not
don't miss
looking
100
forward.
towers in a fucking system?
I was very happily in low sec doing horrible things during POSOV.
Oh
But
my god.
for
And
my
back
part,
then
if
you had
it's
4
coming
different. Oh, sorry.
sorry. For my part, it's coming 3 times for every tower timer now, so it's not getting better, I guess.
Well, you also had not only did POS fucking solve warfare, but then you had 4 different fuel types. Fucking oh my god.
Oh, the
Oh
best
shit,
thing.
that's right. Before, oh my god, when it was like you needed heavy water and like to make starbase fuel required like 4 different kinds of material. Oh my god.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
and you never got the fucking balance right, so you're always running out of something.
Hey, that's
Yeah.
what spreadsheets are for.
Oh my god,
You take
guys,
that back.
guys, can you contract me more Coolid?
I need more mechanical parts.
Jesus Christ.
When PI dropped, I made a fortune, and then I quit.
Yeah, I know when we were in Tribe, and towards the end, I was responsible for running around and managing something like 20 moons. And I know after a week of that, I just wanted to I don't know. I wanted to die. I died inside, actually.
Dude, some poor bastard was on a strat op recently and was talking to ProGod about how he thinks like Dominion Sov wasn't that bad and we should go back to POSOV. And it turned
Oh my
out
God.
he had
Fucking
never played
idiot.
during POSOV and ProGod had. And let me tell you, the next half hour of explanation was hilarious.
How much of sovereignty blockade units and stuff did you get into with it?
Dude, I'm actually very disappointed. I still had, well, up until recently, I still had sovereignty blockade units. And CCP took those away from me, and I'm very disappointed about this. Because up until recently, not only could you still own sovereignty blockade units, you could still anchor them, you just couldn't online them.
Oh, wow.
Well, like I remember one of the when I was getting started and way back in the days, I'd go and fix people's POSA setups and alliance services and all that other shit for like Lady and other people, and holy fuck, when you gotta redo 500 pauses, fuck that shit.
Oh my god. Online times. Oh my god.
Dude, a lot of people, like, I've been talking to a lot of people recently who were like, well, maybe Dominion Sov wasn't that bad because they get tired of fucking node hitting. But it's like, dude, do you remember the nuance involved in Dominion Sov? Like, remember the sovereignty
SBU
blockade unit
flipping?
mechanics? Yeah, exactly. Where you had to be the first one to shoot it, or somebody could just come by and steal it from you.
Or even station flipping.
or you can cycle,
someone
or you
could
can
flip
cycle.
in and hit the station
Yeah,
last and take your
hit the
station. From
Oh my god.
yeah.
Or where people would ninja like stations, the entire station, they'd drop an egg and so maybe they're cloaky, fucking pop out and steal a fucking station.
Yeah. Or, I mean, God, and with Dominion Sov, it was like, there was like a check. All right, first drop your SBU, then kill this, then you can kill that, then you can kill
Follow
the
the
station,
flowchart.
then you can drop your own this and that. It's like, oh my God, it's like after one system, you're like, fuck it, I'm going to go sit in Jita and buy scams.
Yeah, low 6 sounds fine. Let's just go there.
Yeah.
Well, shit, or you had the SBU cycling so you could like fuck somebody's world up over and over and over and over again.
Dude, I remember that like SPUs, as long as you had the role in your corp to toggle the SPUs, anybody in your alliance with that role could toggle the SPUs. And like most people didn't know that, and so it was like we need somebody to bounce an SPU, and you'd have an entire like channel of crickets chirping at you, and you're just like, dude, come on. So any of you director types, really just fucking like, oh my god, we're like fucking dropping 8 TCUs so that one of them will online hopefully, and you'll get this off. Like, oh my fucking god.
It was horrible. I mean, well, the thing about it is, like, I've managed, I don't know how many Dominion Wars coordinating, and just the sheer fucking logistics of Dominion was fucking insane.
Dude, it was a fucking nightmare. Like, I understand that Fozzie Sov may not be popular, and it may not be the best Sov system, but I personally like it a lot more than others they've had.
Well, just if you take a look at the map between, what are we going to say, 2014 and now, in the amount of, I mean, a manifesto would not have survived pre-Fozzie Sov as far as an independent Sov holding alliance.
Yeah, no, honest, I agree with you completely. Test Alliance honestly would have struggled holding its own in Wicked Creek if we were still in Dominion Sov.
Well, I mean, just look at it like this. I mean, if you were wanting to take, let's say, 3 constellations, you've got to move an ungodly amount of SPUs, TCUs, IHUBs, upgrades, fucking POSes, because you had the Death Star and everything, right? I mean, it was just fucking retarded.
As a former member of the finger quotes Blue Fucks Coalition, you might have had trouble if you didn't hire PL either.
You know, you meme about that. We beat you guys to the PL contract by like 5 fucking minutes. Like, I don't want to hear it.
Literally, yes. Like we were like
Literally 5 fucking minutes.
But you know, it's you're talking about the differences in Sovs. I think Sapporo said something earlier. There's a difference in the expectation of things with players now, the immediacy that they want everything to happen. And because I think there's a lot of new players that came in maybe post alpha clone, post skill injectors, whatever it is, right? Where they didn't see how things were back then, because now it's skill injectors. I can get in a carrier in 30 minutes, or I don't have to worry about this. And so there's definitely a difference in the level of expectation for content and doing this and doing that and what I can do now instead of, I mean, God, man.
It's a much more short attention span, instant gratification game than it ever has been, for sure.
Well, and you also
I
don't
wasn't
have
even
the-
allowed to rat in a carrier when I was in my first corporation. A guy once bitten in the one-track mind, and it was like, if you don't have all the proper skills to rat in that carrier, you're not. I'm gonna go AWACS your carrier. And it was like, I mean, I think I spent 18 months getting all the right skills. I mean, there was no injecting. So yeah, you definitely felt like, I guess back then, I'll say that I felt like I earned it more. But now, I don't hate the guys that can get into stuff quicker, but it does seem like they've created this level of expectation that everything must happen now. And if it's not now, then there must be something wrong with it.
Well, and I think there's also something to be said, not just about FuzzySub, but, I mean, a group like Manifesto or even Test or anybody really that wasn't PL or NCDOT would be fucked because, if they wanted to fuck with you, 5 minutes later you had a 1,000-man wrecking ball on your doorstep,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, shit, like, we wanted to fucking take some moons when we were living in Losec, like, good fucking luck, dude. Like, we had PL hunters, like, roaming through all the time, like, it was
Well, not only
ridiculous.
that, but the Russians or PL or NC or Goons could hold that space with a lot less effort back in Dominion Sov and just rent it out.
Well, it's not like rental has gone away.
No, but you at least with the ADMs and some of the occupancy Sov requirements, I think that's why, granted, I mean, you still have these massive renter coalitions, but you still have to have people living it and cranking up the ADMs. And that's why the manifestos, the Hades, the smaller coalitions have the ability to potentially take, a couple of systems of their own, because the map is significantly different in the last 24 months. So, I mean, I think CCP has definitely moved in the right direction. I'm sure there's a lot more they could do. But God, anyone who didn't play this game 3 to 2 years ago don't know how dead it was and how bad and hard sucked a lot of that was.
Look,
dude, I have no problem saying that if it hadn't been for FuzzySov, we would have eaten shit repeatedly and very likely disbanded. Like, that Dominion Sov was getting to the point where it was just like, you have a super gap army and you win.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can really do about that. If you're the smaller group, you are fucked. You are truly and deeply fucked.
And how many regional capital battles do we have now? I mean, you can, as a smaller alliance, you can drop capitals or supers, or, I mean, even when I was in Test 2 months ago, right? Or let's even say now in Guardians of the Galaxy, you wouldn't dare drop a couple of supers on a roaming gang because you knew that 15 seconds later, PL would show up across the map and smash you. So I have seen sort of the more regional, dread bombs, capital supers, Titans being used that no one would have ever dared bring out because PL would just come down and nail you.
Well, look at Try. I mean, there's a good example. Or CO2, they're dropping supers. I mean,
Oh, I'm not even worried about them. Look at.
I mean, I like the
Hard
position we're
Knocks
in
coming
right
out
now.
of nowhere in a wormhole and dropping.
You have a real super cap proliferation going on right now, and I'm still on the fence about whether that's good or bad for the game. I don't know that we can really say at this point. But to be honest with you, it's really exciting to see even the smaller groups have some sort of super cap presence.
Yeah.
I think it really makes things more interesting. Like, you see a group of 6 dudes, it's a small gang, who knows where they come from. You're now questioning whether or not you're going to drop supers on those dudes, because who fucking knows what they've got in range of that fucking Sino.
Look, something I'll say too is that, under the old system, it was very much very strong N+1. Like, I mean, I look at a group like Feign Disorder. I mean, they're kind of not what they once were. They splintered. But I mean, you look at IA, which was affiliated with them. They're doing it. You have these groups where, if you really focus on skirmish warfare, you focus on maneuver warfare, you make sure as a smaller group that you're training your pilots to get shit done. I was there. I was right next to Try fighting Feign, and they would just get so mad and frustrated that they couldn't throw their angry blob of fucking Cerberuses or whatever they were flying, at the enemy and just automatically win. All of a sudden they had to think about their positioning and all this kind of thing. And this is one. This is one
There's still a tremendous amount of value in subcap supremacy, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
But I agree with you in the N+1 of Dominion Sov. I think N+1 is just as prevalent, if not more so now, than it ever has been.
Yeah.
In as much as we're encouraging smaller groups to go and take Sov and hold Sov, and we're doing activity-based whatever, it's still N+1. It's always going to be N+1 and force multiplying your way to the N+1 victory.
Well, you're not wrong, but I mean, I guess to some extent, I think that it has been reduced, and I think this is especially true of capitals and so on, because they just don't have the maneuverability, especially with fucking jump fatigue and stuff.
Well, and the
I don't agree with that either, because right now what we have at the cap and super cap level is it's about how many faxes you can bring. It's not about shield or armor or FC or alliance or whatever. It's just literally about back support. The group.
You cut out.
The group with the largest amount of faxes is going to hold the field and win. The game right now. I think there's a large divide on shield versus super. And I think the undermining point of that is it's fact support. It's always going to be fact support at this point. And I think we're going to get to a point where we're going to see a pretty large super cap scuffle between the two, and it's just going to end up being whoever has the largest amount of facts is going to win that fight.
Except with the new Doomsdays and Dread Bomb's getting to a point where you can frickin', vaporize in one shot.
I agree, faxes go down, but you have a bunch of them. You have more of them. You have as many as you can pack into a fleet. That is how you win those fights now.
Well, I think that just comes down to fleet size. Period. End statement.
Yeah. Well, I think the difference.
Sure, but that's my point. It's still N+1.
Yeah, it is N+1. The difference now is that certain groups that could have traipsed across the map, your PL, they can't go down and necessarily in 20 minutes drop on a test versus whoever fight, right? Before you would never escalate the capitals because you knew they're just going to show up. The N+1 has never changed. It's always about who's got more of what, depending on the meta and the doctrines. But the difference is, at least with jump fatigue, that certain groups that are always going to be able to outmaneuver you, at least currently, who have the larger super capital forces, aren't going to be able to come all the way across the map and hit you.
I mean, I think that's partly true, sure, but I think now more than ever, support is emphasized heavier than just having the most fucking damage ships, yeah?
No, I completely agree with you on that. I think the difference here is you can see these local fights. The N+1 and the meta, right now, I think the faxes are the way you win fights.
Look, I mean, I guess I'm not entirely just talking about, single brawls here, okay? I'm talking especially about sort of Fozzie-Sov engagements. Right, I can drop a Dread Bomb and wipe out an Intosising fax machine. If I have an ADM-6 system, all of a sudden they need to get another fax machine in place to do that, whatever. I mean, aside from some of the very capital-heavy groups out there, that really makes a difference. Then you start breaking down into the sort of subcap supremacy thing. I think that's something that a lot of people forget, is that, Intosis ships cannot receive remote reps. They're limited in terms of the amount of speed they have.
I don't agree with that, actually.
If you can maximize your capacity to engage on those ships, if you have a high enough ADM and you have an alliance, for example, like Manifesto, they can hold up a fleet for fucking 8 hours. Engaging in a Sov warfare battle, then the enemy, frankly, who most of which are fucking ADHD as fuck, are not going to have the patience to engage in an 8-hour solve battle. If you have a committed force,
okay. So hold on a
then-
second. To counter
okay, go
that
ahead.
point, like early on, like I expected on a personal level. I don't know what test military expected, but on a personal level, what I expected with fighting capital-heavy groups is that they would use triage in TOSAs. Yeah, like regardless
Yeah.
of the fucking time increase, they would just use it because that
Yeah, you're
massive
not
EHP pool or whatever. And what we're seeing right now in the meta is 500 MN recons doing in TOSAs.
Mhm.
And so these recons just orbit a node doing 4K a second with their T2 in TOSAs at like 150 kilometers. They're pretty hard to catch and they're pretty hard to counter. Like I don't see capitals having the impact that I think all of us expected them to have on the Entosis field.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'd have to agree. I mean, the thing about it is you got two different scenarios. A small determined group, you know, like Manifesto, can withstand a much larger group. But at the end of the day, you know, let's say somebody dogpiles 1,000 supers into your constellation, you're fucked.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But I mean, there's
There's
like
going to be that
2 or 3
influx-
groups
there's
that
gonna-
can do that.
I'd say there's more than 2 or 3.
There's certainly a spot for subcaps of all kinds to Entosis, right? Like you obviously in an Entosis fight want to encourage as many people as you can to carry Entosis links and to coordinate the Entosis fight. But I don't think there's a space in the Entosis like game for capitals like we expected there to be.
No, it's clown shoes. It's where it used to be interceptors. It's freaking.
Dude, I've also been
recon.
seeing people, and I don't even know how to respond to this, but I've seen people like run up to a node, start the Entosis cycle, like in a system that's just them, and then just close the client, right? Like your modules keep going, they're still Entosising, they're just no longer showing up in local. Like this kind of shit. This game is just a subcap game. Like this Entosis stuff. This is all subcaps, and it is.
Yep.
Almost exclusively dominated by subcaps. Like you can bring in caps, you can bring in supers, but you're not going to hold the field against that because it's a multi-grid engagement.
Look, I cannot emphasize enough, guys. Like, I mean, you know, and this goes for, you know, other people that might be listening to this. Guys, combat probes. Oh my god, combat probes. Like,
look,
if you
I've been running up to those nodes and just holding tackle or jamming them, and they're not logged in, so they can't do anything to stop it. Or you pop their ship, they're not logged in, they can't do anything to stop it. You still have dudes able to do this, yeah?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, you're not
I didn't
wrong,
know that
but I mean,
that the
it's-
module will
it's-
continue to run after you close the client.
Yeah, the module.
Yeah,
I found out the hard way with Fraternity and Tosising Oursov and Wicked Creek that we inexplicably still hold, and most recently some Soviet Union dude named Revan was doing the AFK and Tosis gimmick where he just closes his client.
Are you talking about Revan?
Is that his name? Or Revan? Yeah, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. I just saw him in local the other day.
He leads Soviet Union.
Oh, there you go. Well, he's in Tosising stuff, and he just does it by closing the client. Like it's
Well, there was a guy that.
It's a pretty weird gimmick.
Well, there was a guy that did this like multi-boxing, like 60 dudes, and he went and toast this like half a region, and did that shit, and like it was, it was retarded.
Like I respect the 500 MN recon in Tosis gimmick. That's a pretty solid way to do it. Like you dedicate. Yeah, it's hard to counter, it's hard to catch, it's hard to kill, but you're investing a lot of ISK into that ship being able to do that thing. It's a multi-grid engagement thing. It's risk reward. I'm okay with it. This is not terrible. It is not just a bunch of fucking like triage faxes dropping on all the nodes and just saying fuck you and extending the middle finger to anybody that wants to contest. This is a pretty all right way to do things.
Yeah, and I mean, if you really focus, you can counter it.
Yeah. By the
for
way,
sure.
just from the comments in the chat window, I kind of agree with Zormiko. It is kind of creepy watching Manny bounce back and forth there. He's just like rocking back and forth, like he's about ready to, I don't know, psycho kill somebody.
What? Oh,
Pretty sure that's
okay.
a combination of like a dozen Red Bulls and a couple of shots and a few other things working his way through.
Yeah, he seriously looks like he's about to go break into someone's house and like murder their kids and stomp on their kittens.
Or maybe do
Wow,
50.
I didn't know Old
solely show
Milwaukee
from him
made
just so we
energy
could, like,
drink.
bullshit about shit.
Oh, that's generally what it ends up being.
I'm pretty wasted, guys. I don't know about you.
You know, to be fair, this is like, I mean, to be honest with you, I was on a meta show that was supposed to be like a round table of like leadership of dudes in the game. Like this is how like Eve podcast should run, where you just get a bunch of dudes interested in a topic, you just have them shoot the shit about that topic or varying topics. Like this is not bad. This is exactly the way things should be run.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying this conversation, guys. I'm glad you're all here.
Well, one thing I definitely learned tonight is that besides Spectre being a Marine Corps captain, he really doesn't like Captain Patrick Archer.
Oh my God, yeah, no, there's a lot of
hey,
salt in our
did you
alliance.
pick up on
Guy. I'm not gonna.
You
I'm
need
not
to
gonna
take
lie.
away also Captain Patrick Archer has a damn sexy voice.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Well,
I've
you
only
know,
been on like 2 fleets with that dude, but that voice, holy shit.
You know,
I'm gonna tell you-
I'm just
all night.
plugging some sexy voices here. You know, if you go on the EN24 website, you can find it. You know, we have a guy who does some voice acting for our semi-fictitious leader, Bubba C. Pool. You should definitely listen to his voice. You'll listen to it and want him to read you bedtime
Why
stories.
is he a semi-fictitious leader? That feels something odd to emphasize.
Sapo, I was interviewing Peter for an article about Patrick Archer and the whole manifesto thing, and it was at least 45 minutes into the interview that I realized that Boba C. Pool and him are the same person, but they're like a fictitious entity, and yeah, you don't even want to dive down that hole.
Yeah, dude. He's basically like our
Quick
Stalin. He's like our
Quick shot.
Stalin. What?
Yeah, all right, fair enough.
I don't want to hear about fictitious leaders. I'm tired.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, fair enough.
No, I'm just kidding.
He is the voice of the Podletariat, okay? We are the revolutionary force.
I hold staff
Okay.
meetings at News 24 once a month, only so I can hear John Dries talking. That dude has a sexy voice.
Dude, I mean, I am the opiate of the masses. I totally understand.
Oh, how are you doing, Fork?
It's 6 in the morning, 7, so I'm quite tired.
Yeah, it's 12:20 for me. I think I may be getting ready to head out here shortly, guys.
Hey, in any podcast where we can find Razor, that's a win.
Dude, I found them. We had to rescue some guys who were leaving their alliance who were worried their supers were going to get AWOXed. And, yeah, that was a thing. I think they're like, I think they're hanging out somewhere around the drone regions or whatever. Yeah, they came in and toasted our space the one day. Right after we left Vanguard, we had a bunch of guys. It was, Razor was in there, and Explicit Alliance, and a few others. They all showed up, and they came in and toasted our space, and we schmackled them.
That's own. We have a rolling deployment system currently going on with Explicit and D85 and Dive.
Hi. We're there occasionally.
Oh,
So what we're
Explicit
doing
still
is
exists? What?
we bounce
Yeah.
between Curse and some other areas in Eve. Be 1 week deployed, 1 week of break, 1 week deployed. So when we were in Curse, probably people have went to the.
That's a pretty interesting model, actually. Wait. So every other week you're deployed?
Yeah, we deploy for 1 week, then have 1 week break, and then we start again in another area and start to deploy again.
That
we
is
have
legit as fuck.
That sounds
Pretty interesting. Yeah, no doubt. How does that work?
Yeah.
We have ships
Well,
prepared already.
And don't just. I know you're extremely German. Don't just say we deploy and then we don't. I know. What? Like, how does that actually work?
Well, we prepare ships. We have certain doctrines in every area. That they are pre-deployed, so people just have to burn down there, get to the alliance contracts, buy stuff, and then jump the ships and start flying around.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and this is a model that one of the, you know, that breakaway group I was talking about, they made their own alliance obsolete, does, that, you know, they go to an area, they hang out there for a month or two, and I think they're in Great Wildlands right now. You know, they go down there, they bring a bunch of ships, at the end of their deployment, they just take everything, they have some guys that work in their logistics team. They sell it. They sell it. They bring new ships down to a new area, and then they just deploy again. And you know, it's been working really great for them. And you know, I you know, something that I think was really kind of screwed over with the whole Phoebe thing was, you know, the jump fatigue thing, and deploying alliances. You know, like Black Legion. you don't see that anymore. It's really kind of, I think, bitten into the whole, capacity of like mercenary groups and this kind of thing. But really, if you have like a package that you can throw into a freighter, like if you can fit it under 60,000 M3, which is very easy to do, especially if you keep it cruiser sized.
We don't move the stuff, we leave it there, so we don't have to carry it around. We bring it one time, and we always use the same staging system, so we basically bounce
so you
around
guys just
between-
have caches pre-set up in
Well,
areas
I
that
think-
you'll go
exactly.
deploy to. Oh,
I
that's
think what
sweet.
I think what Sapporo was trying to say was, deploying for a month or two is one thing, but 1 week on, 1 week off, 1 week on, I think was
Yeah,
kind of what he
it's
was referring to.
like, I mean, I'm trying to figure out how to I'm trying to say, I have the scale that we're on. It's tough to do like a week on, week off thing. So I was trying to figure out how you manage the logistics of that and
interceptors and jump clones, family. Interceptors and jump clones.
not
yeah, that
that
sounds pretty
difficult.
legit.
And the reason we're doing it is because, well, we have a lot of new players that are coming into Razer, and also our coalition partners have a lot of newer players, so they need training. Also some FCs need training, and we don't have the personal strength to do full deployments all the time at the moment.
That's
So
fine.
it's
How do you identify staging systems and targets? You know what? Actually, don't feel like you have to answer that. That's probably a trade secret thing. It's cool. I'm sorry. I
Not too
realized
much.
that after I asked that question. I'm sorry.
I basically look for areas that are rich in content and not blue, so it's not that difficult.
Yeah,
all right,
with
fair
like
enough, yeah.
13 regions in the game blue, it really wasn't hard to find one that was red.
Yeah,
No, that's legit. Yeah.
Well, basically, we can say we have 1/4 of the map blue, which is the northeastern part. So there's southeast, northwest, and northeast, and northwest.
I hear, Impasse looking pretty good this time of year.
So when you say the Northwest, okay, let me ask you a question just real quick. Who lives in Syndicate?
I think Init and Mercenary Coalition are still added in Syndicate at the moment.
Oh, don't forget, you also have the Eve-Uni little fucking conclave there as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think those guys have ever left, yeah.
And then there's also Cass, which I think is loosely tied to Eve-Uni.
The last time I
may be
was
could be
there, it
wrong.
was Cass, Eve-Uni, there was Evoke, and then Groon, both of whom have died. And then a barren wasteland of, non-affiliated Korean small entities.
Yeah, but we're not going to Syndicate, right? We're going more like Pure Blind, Cloud Ring.
Sure,
so-
yeah, no, I totally understand. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just meant that as an aside.
No, that's fine.
So
yeah, I think
speaking of,
most- Currently, I think Init and Mercenary Coalition are brawling over the moons in Syndicate.
Speaking of Back from the Dead, is Intrepid Crossing still alive out there?
Yes, they are.
Holy
yeah,
crap.
apparently they
How many times have they?
inexplicably still exist. Holy
I
shit.
can't believe that they're still around.
Atlas is coming back, by the way. They're deploying up north.
I don't, wait. Hold
Yeah,
on a
they were-
second. Did
they
you
were
say
on
deploying up north? Where are they deploying?
Atlas is deploying it.
Yeah, Atlas is part of Quarius fight Thunderbolt.
Yeah, I knew that. I didn't know they were deploying north.
Yeah, they're deploying north. They're shooting Hordes, I believe.
Okay.
You throw
Well,
enough
might
distractions
be-
in something, it starts getting a little attention.
Yeah. Well, they should be more worried about the Quarius stuff, I guess, because the Horde is still entoasting Quarius at the moment.
Of course, they're starting out their ops in Jeddah.
Dude, are they really? Oh my god.
Yes, they really are. I promise. Like 4 of the last 5 ops they sent to the north, the format was in Jeddah, no joke.
In before
Can't you
Wardeck.
just stop
just
them
was say-
in their
what I was about to
tracks
say,
just with the EC Pater? What the? What even is the point? Oh, okay.
Check contracts and
Okay.
locals for ships.
I have no idea. Maybe they just like using a multi-buy tool or something.
It does make things easy, I guess.
No, I mean, if you're in Frigs and Decies, I mean, you just insta-undock and there you go. You can just fucking burn from wherever.
And suddenly, smart bomb bears. First dose a kid.
Hey, you guys are going to come back on in a couple of weeks. We're going to have Toro Bushido on, so that should be pretty good. We can talk about Jeddah.
No
fuckery.
shit. I really want to talk to that dude.
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine. He's on vacation right now, but he'll be coming on in a couple of weeks.
Well, the last show we had, it was good to hear from Manfred Sidious again. I'm glad to see he's back to running a court.
Oh,
No,
Manny.
actually, he's got
Oh my
an
God.
alliance. He's got an alliance going. He's growing pretty fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're blue to me.
I'm sure you won't. I'm sure you won't have a problem shooting you if you want to.
Speaking
Yeah,
of old
there's
friends,
a really
The
easy
only
way to fix
reason
that.
I'm grumpy at Toro Bushido is he wouldn't let me put my alt in Marmite.
is Drone Walker still down there with you guys in Legacy?
We went through their space just the other day, so I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still down there. They are not as big as they used to be. Like they lost a couple of corps. They're doing some reworks. Like they're in a position to grow.
Is
Okay.
Tridget? Is it still Tridget or someone else taking over?
Tridget's an
Oh, it's
Iron
still Tridget,
Armada.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was
Tridget,
his.
yeah, sorry, yeah, not Tridget.
Yeah, Tridget. I love him. I got to be friends with him in real life. I was his exo in tribe, but he's a good dude.
Oh, he's a good
I
dude,
always wish
yeah.
him the best. He's
I
been
mean-
around forever.
Honestly, I mean, all the groups in Legacy are pretty good except for one.
Awkward silence.
Yeah.
That's the great thing about any silence on this show. I just edit it right out.
Dude, I just
No.
work here. Like, I don't know.
No, all joking aside, no, Legacy's been good. Well, especially Test has been great as far as the stuff with the
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I was sad to leave Test. I've been in Test or Test adjacent for like almost 7 years.
Test
including-
adjacent.
Yeah, like
Test
in Tribe.
adjacent.
You know, Tribe was basically Test Junior in the day.
Yeah,
and
that's
then,
legit. Yeah.
And then so I was either, and then I went to Dreadit, and then we were in SoCo, and then I worked. We tried to get us that we wanted to come back to Test. So once SoCo reopened, and I was glad we did that. I was sad to leave, but it was one of those things where I had to take the chance to form my own corp, and so Sort was willing to give me the opportunity to do that within Darkness because of SoCo's prior relationship with them. So I'm
Oh, that's
sad
a
to be
totally
gone,
legit
but I'm
reason.
glad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, after 7 years, I was just like, I wanted a chance to do it. And I know Test had sort of some awkward experiences with people opening corps inside there, so there was legit
Yeah, we
reasons
kind
for
of
me
get
not
burned
doing
on that. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and a lot of times when you're forming that new corp, you end up having to do it in like faction warfare or somewhere else. If you don't have a big alliance with Sov, it's really hard. So I know I kind of scored a Yahtzee with Sort letting me open up in Darkness, and they've been good to me. So
I mean, in all
It's-
fairness,
I mean,
there are a
that's
lot of groups
all
that
that
allow
matters.
that.
I'm just happy to hear that you fucking, like, you left Test and you grew what you wanted to grow into something what you wanted to see. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
yeah, no, I mean, I've always wanted to open my own corp, but I was loyal to SoCo. I love SoCo and being in Test and Dread it, but doing my own corp was something I always wanted to do, and you never know where I'll end up. But we've been open 2 or 3 months. We've got like 15 really solid dudes in there now, and we're having a lot of fun in it. So I'm enjoying it. I tell you, running Eve News 24 is hard. Running a corp, you almost have to be a psycho to want to open up a new corp in Eve, because it is probably the hardest job in the game, I think, at least to date for me.
Unless you just have a corporate one with 60 tunes, that's all you.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, there's that.
I do just want to say to other people that might want to like open corps and this kind of thing, just like speaking from my own experience, guys, seriously, if you're listening to this shit, get a good team of directors, people that you
Yeah.
Oh
trust.
shit, that is
Fucking,
no joke. You need
like,
a leadership
all
team to
about
run
the
a corp. It's not a one-man show.
Like, the number
You need to be able
of
to delegate. You need trustworthy people. You need a plan. You need like a thing you want to do with this corp, what you want to build it into. Starting a corp is not just as easy as hitting that create new corp button.
Oh no. I mean, you can create the name, but actually having a corp that's going to stand up to the test of time. I mean, that's what I've done in my first 2 months. Is I've like literally guys I trust, guys like that CEO I talked to you about earlier in One Track Mind. So he's with me now, and he's been playing since 2003, and so. I've got him. He's a trusted guy. I've got 2 other guys I've known for several years, and I built my leadership team, and now we're opening up to new bros to sort of grow it, even bigger. But yeah,
Well,
you're right.
Look at Dice. I mean, holy shit, that's what, 10 years? They just had their 10-year anniversary last evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's absolutely huge that like having people that can cover for you if you have some real life shit going on, or just little bullshit like fucking like running a tower. Like it's fucking embarrassing. You have a tower
No,
go
the
offline or
problem
some
is you
shit,
have a
like-
lot of guys. You have a lot of guys that open up corporations that just have no clue how to do that. I've even run across other CEOs who
sure.
are like, "Hey, how do I, if I give this guy director role, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Oh my god, you probably, you don't want to tell him. You probably don't
Like,
need
if
to
you
be
have to
running a
question it,
corporation."
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well,
like
but see, that leads to content too. That leads to huge corporate ops, you know.
yeah. I was lucky. I came up in two old school corporations. Southern Comfort, that's been around forever, run by people like Vigilante and Trespasser who just know every part of the game. And even now I can still message them and be like, how do I do this exactly? The stuff that I don't know.
All the
And then,
mechanics, yeah. Tress and
Yeah.
Vigi are amazing at that, yeah.
yeah. But just not only that, just what do being in a corp like Southern Comfort for several years, and then another one before that, like One Track Mind, you see what makes a good corp, because those are two very successful corps. And then it allows I've sort of based my model off of Southern Comfort. So,
Look, I founded
I'm
my corp
shamelessly
in
ripping them off.
2007. It has, I think, 300 members now, and has its own there's a new CEO, new board of directors, if you don't make the right decisions for your corp, you're not gonna grow. And those right decisions are trusting people, building a good leadership team, having a plan, having a process for things, good recruitment practices. I mean, yeah, corporations are the gatekeepers for quality to any alliance. So, if you fail, your alliance is going to fail too. I think a lot of people really forget just how important corporations are, individual corporations in an alliance.
Well, if you have if you have a great corporation, I mean, there's some really amazing ones out there. I mean, that can make or break an alliance. I mean, you got Dreadit, they got amazing infrastructure. You've got, groups like Karma Fleet and, all these other groups that, Pandemic Horde, right?
Well, you know
Brave.
what? I think one of the things that, to me at least, and it's one of the things I made sure I put in place before I even accepted my first member, was you have to have a plan for what you're going to do and how you're going to help every new member of your corporation integrate. And then sort of the policy. What are your directors going to do? So how are you going to how are you going to tell that guy to get to where you at? Do you have good bulletins? Just the simple infrastructure, so that when new members get there, it's not like, okay, welcome to our corp. Here's our home system.
Yeah,
Find
for sure.
us.
Here's a wiki article. Here's wiki stuff. Here's
Well, it's an experience.
forums.
It's got to be an experience. It's got to be an experience.
Look, something else I'll say too is having watched a lot of other alliances and corporations too, especially I think about my own group, Reckless Endangerment. Like I said, we had a guy who was running our corporation, Green Berets, who frankly didn't know what the fuck he was doing, and at the same time also wasn't doing the shit we needed to do, like handing out roles, this kind of thing. If you don't have a leadership that has that game knowledge, or at least has a directorship that can provide that game knowledge, you're in a really bad place. When you're looking at a corporation, and I'm saying this to people who are listening, when you're looking at a corporation, check their game knowledge. Test them on just basic shit.
Yeah.
Because, if they don't know that, then they aren't worth it. It's some flash in the pan. I cannot tell you how many
it's
groups,
just some job interview, dude. Feel free to ask questions when you're in an interview with a corp. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is you want to find a good corp that has what you want, and it has the systems and the processes and things set up, and the towers and all the stuff that goes into a corp to make joining a corp worthwhile, right?
Yeah. Well, what's not even that. Sapo said they're like the gateway. CEOs are these gatekeepers to an alliance, right? Well, I see it even as beyond that. When I joined the game, I got lucky. I ran across a really good in One Track Mind, and a CEO that knew what he was doing and how to help me get into the game, even when getting into ships and you didn't have injectors and it was really hard to get into content and all this stuff. And I stayed in the game because of that. How many people do we lose because you got some guy that doesn't know what he's doing? He creates a corporation. He advertises in wherever he advertises. Some guy joins it. He gets burnt out after 10 minutes because no one's there to help him. I don't know how many people I've picked up, even when I was in SoCo and other places as a recruiter, that is like, oh, I was in this place or I was in that place, and I just quit for 3 years because they didn't know, they couldn't tell me what to do, and I didn't know even how to get to their.
If you're listening to this show right now, if you want to be a corp CEO just because you want power, don't be a corp CEO.
Well, it was like when I first went into nullsec with Lady Scarlet. I mean, she had her shit together. She knew what the fuck she was doing, and that's what got me hooked on nullsec.
Yeah, Lady Scarlet's pretty amazing, to be fair.
Yes, she is.
She claims she owes me a drink at Eve Vegas. I'm gonna see if she actually makes good on that.
Oh, she'll make good on it.
And supposedly she's gonna have some great swag. So I'm looking forward to that too.
I still have my PL pin.
Yeah, I'm still hoping to get onto the volunteer team for eVegas this year.
All right,
Have they
guys.
been putting that off? I thought they usually.
Yeah, it's getting pretty late, boys.
I'm toast. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's all right. We're looking at getting it called here anyway. We went a little longer this time because last week there wasn't a show. So we'll go ahead and go into shoutouts. We'll do our shoutouts from the bottom, and that brings it to Urs.
Shout out to everybody who came tonight. Shout out to anybody in NC and MC who gets to fight us.
Oh yeah, you're gonna be dick swinging your way through their space, aren't you?
Something like that.
Nice. Titulus?
Titulus.
Sorry.
Man, I got so many great shout-outs I can throw out here. Of course, the Digital Vendetta, including Forsetti Valley, the Alliance leader, and Truri Krendraven, my military director. We've got our Sturm Grenadier guys. I love my Sturm Grenadier guys, so they get a great shout-out. The Test Bros that have been living 5 hops from me have bought damn near every capital ship I've built in the last 2 weeks. Thank you. I love you guys. And to the unsung masses who swing by and end up getting murdered by my guys in the name of content, I love you as well.
Awesome. Sapporo.
Yeah, shout out to my Alliance. Thanks for not cooping me before I hit the milestone of being the longest sitting test executor in history. Thanks for believing in me. Shout out to our AT team. You guys have done amazing work this year. We're a top 16 team. We didn't do very well last year. Definitely made up for it this year. It's because of you guys and your hard work, all the practices. And definitely shout out to me for being amazing and smelling good.
Here, here.
Well done on smelling good. Johan?
I am a hygiene aficionado.
All right, well, shout out to everybody in Guardians of the Galaxy in Darkness. Diplomatic Incident is recruiting. Also, Eve News 24 is always looking to hire new and talented writers, and to my staff at Eve News 24. And then I didn't know that you would pass that milestone, so shout out to Sapporo for holding tests together and what they've done.
Yay!
I'm sure I'll get in trouble for saying that, by the way, because we're supposed to not like you right now.
I mean, me. It's fine.
I already said Legacy Coalition is bad, so there you go.
I get in trouble all the time. Don't worry about it. Jay.
Can't get into trouble anymore. They threw you out.
Oh yeah, I can't get in any trouble anymore. Haha. Jay, you're up next.
Shout out to all the guests who made it. Thanks for coming, especially on short notice. Next week we'll try to get things out a little sooner. That was on me. I wasn't sure if I was going to make it today. My health's not doing too good. And a shout out to Subarus everywhere.
That's the noise of a Subaru.
Orkrel.
Okay, my shout-outs go to my AT team at first. Well, we didn't do too well this year, but it's basically our first one ever because, well, the rest of the people who did AT stuff before left, so we started from zero. And the other shout-out goes to my command of Ruffle, which is a very unfunny job because it means Razor offensive logistics, and since he has to supply all the stagings we are having at the moment, he's quite busy, so shout-outs to Sidara Tristis, who's doing our Ruffle business.
Awesome. Peter?
Yeah, for sure, man. All right. So, first of all, I'm going to say a shout out to my corporation. reckless endangerment. You know, keep on shit talking each other and shit and making each other, you know, get better at this game. Okay? Shout out to Manifesto Alliance, one of the last independent soft holding alliances in EVE. We've been holding up good. We're going to keep on growing. We're going to keep on working on Wicked Fight Club. And, you know, yeah, thank you for, you know, inviting me out here, Manny. And, Jay, that was good.
Absolutely, man. Good to have you. I got a few shout outs to do. First is more of a personal shout out to a pilot named Saven Jarent with Unknown Alliance. Shortly before my alliance got kicked from the coalition, I was doing a little shopping. I said before we start the show, right now I would give my left nut for field conservation implants and a berserker too. And I almost lost a VNI trying to get one. I was sitting AFK in a system looking at the market, and Saven saw me. I found the things that I was looking for, started making my way out to it, and jumped right into a Jackdaw gate camp. And if it wasn't for the fact that my VNI had 100 micronewton afterburner on it, I would probably not have made it through that camp. But Saven happens to be a fan of the show. He's like, "Oh my god, Manny Bothans is primary, I love it." So I had to give him a shout out. Shout out to my corporation, Merrick Enterprises, and our alliance, Just Let It Happen. I found out from the alliance CEO that Just Let It Happen is recruiting. If you're a corp CEO and you want to get out there and try nullsec for yourself, talk to our folks, Tanis Anzomi and I think Moon Dawn. You should be able to find their contact information in the show info window for Just Let It Happen Alliance. FU mate. I do want to give another shout out to everybody who showed up here. There is no show without guests, so I do want to thank everybody for showing up. For Peter, Forkworld, Jay, Johan, Sapporo, Travis, Titleist, Urziel, Spectre, Vici, and myself. This is Manny Bothans, reminding you that Manny Bothans died to bring you this broadcast, at least 2 times by my count. And not to worry, his medical clone is somewhere nearby.
Travel Scepters, Family M, Travel Scepters.